Normally it does capture all this, by the way. I did go back and edit it out last week, but we'll see what happens.
Good. Good.
Yeah, so right now it's just waiting. We'll see if it comes up.
We just went live.
Hey, there it is. All right, we're good. Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer, and that must mean it's time for another episode of Warhammer Weekly. Joining me, as always, he's on vacation, but there's no vacations from Warhammer. It's my constant companion, Tom. How you doing, buddy?
Hello, friends.
Also joining us this week, very happy to have him back on the show. The man still waiting for a book. We've got almost every army touched, but his remains. It's Heywo Twitch. What's up, brother?
What's up?
That's right. Make stone skeleton great again. We all can support that. I think, as I said to you, Heywo, before we went live, this is all going to work in your favor. The fact that you've had to wait this long just means that when it actually comes out, it's going to be awesome, right? So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've only been getting more interesting and better at writing rules. For the most part.
Yeah, I agree. couple.
There's some wobbly bits in there, as they say, but for the most part, we're good.
Yeah. There's there was two books that were questionable. There's one book that's fine that everybody hates, and everything else is great. So that's fine. No issues there at all. Fight me, Rob. All right. So at any rate, tonight we're going to talk about Cities of Sigmar. We're going to deep dive on it. I am very excited about this. I'm super excited about this book. More excited than I thought I was going to be. This has just been a great week of reading through this and the Auric book. I've been so excited. Got the new gaming book too. Did not realize it was that small. I opened because I ordered it, and then I opened the box that had all this in it, and I was like, it's a little baby book. That's fine. Still good. Has everything I wanted in it, so I'm more than happy. If I'm willing to buy limited edition General's Handbooks every year, I'm willing to spend money on the gaming book. Fine with me. You got me, GW. Good go. Okay. All right. So Tom, what do we got for news?
Rumor engine?
Yeah, we're not doing that. Tom Walton sculpted. I know that because he shared the picture today, and he only shares the rumor engine pictures of stuff he sculpted. That doesn't mean anything. I'm just saying, he sculpts a lot more 40K stuff than fantasy, but he does plenty of fantasy stuff too.
Right.
That being said, it's a 40K thing. It's not KO. It's a 40K thing. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
it's bombs.
Sad.
It looks
bombs.
It's way too put together, and so whatever. There you go. Oh well.
Totally.
What else we got? What are you drinking?
A pina colada,
Okay.
that my wife made, and I probably have more on the way. So this is what happens on vacation.
Sure.
What
man.
kind of vacation would it be without a pina colada? Sure.
I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's just delightful. That's all I'm saying. It's really addictive, actually.
I think last time you were on vacation, you were on a porch doing this show with a cigar and a pina colada. So now at least you're inside somewhere.
Miami Vice.
Yes.
Which was the pina colada strawberry daiquiri mix. But the reality is that my kids are out running around, and so I lock them out of their bedroom, and I'm doing the show from their bedroom.
Good choice. Good choice.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thanks.
All right. So yeah, what else we got?
I don't know. We got the article from Warhammer Community, which was the two new mounted characters.
Yeah,
who look really nice
for the Bone Daddies. Yes.
Yep. I love the call out that it's actually a dark reflection of the Bone Daddy, right?
The Dracoth, the Lord on Dracoth.
The Dracoth. I love that call out. I love the fact that it dawned on me we want to death cast Eternals. You can just do that army now.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they are. They're meant to be
Right.
Nagash's reflection of that.
Right.
He's manufactured his own elite soldiers by sticking together. If he can't get one really good soul, he's just shoved together four, decent ones, right?
Totally.
Four average people can take down one pretty good person. That's just the rules right there. So.
Well, I'm just saying, if you want these things, and you want to do a conversion army, like Deathcast Eternals, super easy to do.
Sure.
And getting a hold of those models is not hard. So something to think about.
Hey, well, what'd you think of the two characters that we saw them now in more detail?
I continue to really like the Bone Boys. I continue to not remember what their actual name is because I called them the Bone Boys immediately, and it got locked inside my brain, never to be extricated. But yeah, I like these a lot. I like the Napoleon kind of
Sure.
position of the one guy's mount. I like how very much is like a kind of a Vandus hammer hand, except facing the other direction. I thought that was a cool little reference. If it was on purpose, I think it was. And the non-named version, I assume, the first one in the article,
the Liege Cavadalos or whatever the heck they're called,
which is a great name, by the way. I like the naming schemes so far of this. Man, that horse is like extra thick. Look at that. So much armor and bone, and then armor stuff over the bone. Reminds me of his what do you call them? Mortar or not Mortarks? I'm blanking
the
on the name.
Morghasts.
Yeah, the Morghast armor.
Sure.
It's very similar to that.
Yep.
And yeah, this is just, I'm like residually excited for my friends that are in death that always wanted, big cool stuff.
Yeah, I gotta say, time has soured me on this army. Like, I'm not interested anymore. I'm glad people are. Like, our mutual buddy, Mr. Meth, is obviously like beyond excited, and I'm thrilled for him because he's over the moon, and I love that people are excited. But just like, as more time has gone on, I've had more time to really see them up close. I'm just like, there's little things that at first were just like, maybe that's not so bad, but now it's actually bothered me more and more, just like little aesthetic details. The thing that does not bother me is their smiling faces. I don't know why that bothers everybody. That actually makes them look great and creepy. Smiling skeletons.
I like their faces.
Are great.
About that part. I think that's one of the good parts about it.
I feel like these people never watched Army of Darkness and learned how skeletons are supposed to have, expressive faces. That's also
totally.
Yeah, they're just like big Kabuto masks made out of bones with super huge chins and smiley faces. It's nice. I like it. I'm a fan.
Yep. But I'm excited to see that people love it. So good. It'll be a cool addition to Death, and frankly, great. And it hopefully forever seals that Tomb Kings never come back. Take that. All right, so.
Man, I hope those catapults are good. They don't have a great track record with big artillery like that. I hope they manage to swim through the currents and manage to be good.
All right, here we go. Ready? Let's do this real quick. What are the rules? What are the rules for the catapult? Go. It's obviously giant, right? Because it's on like the Knight Titan base. It's a major artillery piece. So let's sketch out some rules. Hey, Wo, take a shot. Where would you like to begin?
Well, they removed the not needing line of sight from some artillery. Spoilers ahead in Cities of Sigmar, and I was going to say that if that's just a phased out rule or what, but if it belongs anywhere, it belongs in a massive catapult that gives a big arc.
Agreed. So, this should not need line of sight with that 100%.
Yeah, hoping for that. It's got all sorts of little like wiggly bone legs and stuff on the bottom of it.
Yep. So assumingly it can move pretty decently.
Yeah, I'm hoping it can move pretty decently, not just like a 4, some really slow, ponderous cavalry or artillery like that. It looks like it throws one thing.
Agreed. Yep. It's definitely not a rapid fire weapon, right?
Yeah.
And you and I both know Tom, the mathematical challenge. Like, it could be 2s and 2s, and that's still a tough call.
It could be 2s and 2s, Ren 2, D6 damage. It's still no good, man. Like, I hope it's really expensive and can throw either multiple things or just like has rules that deal damage, kind of like, the lightning, the Skaven lightning shooter.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm
like the Hurricanum.
Concerned because it looks like it shoots one thing, and stuff that looks like it shoots one thing tends to just rules wise do it, like Cygor.
Sure.
And it's never a good avenue to go down.
All right, Doom, that is terrible rules you just put in the chat. That is awful.
It's on 4s with rerolls against units of 10 or more, wounds on 2+.
Yeah, that better be like 60 points if that's what you're talking about. That is awful. That is god awful. That thing is so
Iron
big.
Blaster Turtle, yeah.
That thing is so big.
That's almost as bad as the pestilence catapult.
Yeah, sure. All right, here we go. Here's
I
my
mean, I
shot.
believe him. It's believable that those would be the rules. I would just be very disappointed. That's all.
Here's my ideal rule set. You ready? 250 point piece of artillery. Let's get into this. Okay. A lot of artillery we've seen has gotten pretty cheap. You got these ballistae and you've got these your hell blasters and stuff all clocking in around 100. Let's go to 250. All right, Nask, what are we going to get for 250 points? Here's my answer. Doesn't need line of sight. Rule 1. Rule 2. Okay, let's bring back the old trebuchet rules from Bretonnia. You roll a die when you, instead of making a hit roll or before you make the hit roll, you roll a die. If the number you roll is less than the number of models in the unit, less than, not less than or equal to, less than, you hit automatically. Okay, that was the old Bretonnian trebuchet rule in AOS.
Sure.
Great rule. Made it highly incentivized you to go after big groups, right? Which is what giant catapults like this should be doing. Not trying to drop a rock on your one character. This should be like, this is their anti-infantry clearing, right? Okay, so there's that rule, right? Okay, wounds on a 3 gets +1 to wound if the unit has 20 or more models. So now wounds on a 2, basically, if you shoot at the appropriately big thing. Have I incentivized you big enough to shoot at this yet? Neg 2 rend, 2d6 damage. Okay?
It's time to go 2d6 on damage.
It's time to go 2d6. Let me go farther. Okay? Let me go a step farther. All right, you ready? Okay. If you roll an unmodified 6 to wound, 12. You just max the dice. It just deals max damage. Not mortal wounds. You just treat the dice roll as 12. Your 2d6 as 12.
Okay.
Right?
I was thinking 2d6 if it's a double, extra d6 or something like that.
Oh, there you go. That could be another way. Yeah. The point is make it unbelievably deadly to big giant hordes, right? And that's sort of their anti-horde option.
Mm-hmm.
So it is. So we've seen it with 2 different loadouts on the model.
Yeah.
So it may have 2 different types of ammunition, or there may be 2 build outs of this thing. One of them, I would speculate, is ignores line of sight, but pick a point on the battlefield, and then everything within X number of inches does Y.
Oh, sure. That could be another way to go. Yeah, the old, like, actually, like you're actually dropping the rock. Yeah. Equating the pie plate. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I could imagine a world where it does something like that, and you roll a dice for every unit on a, like, so maybe this is the magical version, not the, like, rock version. Every unit within, you roll dice on a 4+, every unit within each roll dice for each unit 4+, does like a D3 or 2D3 mortals or something.
Somebody in chat mentioned that it has to have -2 bravery for anything it hits. Well, then it would be a bravery bomb, wouldn't it?
Indeed. Yes. No. Indeed. That's not the right rule, Doom. It wasn't -2 bravery for anything it hits. If we're really going to knock off the Tomb King's rule, all I had to do was shoot at the thing. And that unit got -2 bravery. It didn't require the hit or the wound. It was just like,
and you could do that for my mortal wounds idea on the 4+. You could do that, and you could say that anything that is in the area gets -2 to bravery flat.
Sure.
And then there's a chance it also does mortals or whatever. Like if ghosts comes, spewing out of the tomb rocks or whatever.
Sure. My least favorite rule in the universe, remembering negatives to bravery. The least impactful thing that no one ever remembers.
Yeah.
Another interesting way that they could twist it is, instead of doing that, it could immediately force a battle shock test in the shooting phase.
Oh yeah, like the ear burster cannon.
Like the ear burster.
Sure. Yeah, right. That would be good.
And so, and they could do that where, like, maybe one of them is like just straight damage, like a big rock or whatever, like you guys have articulated, and the other is like a magical one where, like, it does mortals and forces a battle shock check.
Sure.
Oh yeah, and it forces it during the shooting phase. There's no.
Yeah, you can't use all the normal battle shock immunity crap.
It's like this big ghostly skull, like in Golden Axe. It comes down and it's. Oh, and then since it's death, you could have some clever, like, rules templating and say, like, hit and wound rolls from this model have ethereal. And then intuitively the person just knows, oh, okay, so they're, ignores lookouts or can't get -1 and stuff like that.
Right. It's an interesting flip around on that. Nice. All right. So yes, we got those two. That was a long, fun tangent. All right. So yeah, we got those characters. I think they look good. I'm not interested. I might just because the more I've looked at them, like I said, I don't like them, but I'm glad that people do, and those look cool. I do. Those two characters are, I think, the coolest looking dudes out of the army, other than Lord Krakatoa himself, who is like the ballerest of ballers. I know I will pick up and paint that thing because come on now.
Oh yeah,
Come on now.
Bone Chad is really something special.
He is.
You know, he's giving you a diorama already.
Yeah,
Exactly. He thought ahead. He's like, look, you're gonna paint me, and I'll help you out here. I'm gonna put myself on a diorama for you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. The number of like diorama entries in painting competitions, like in the diorama category, that will just be him.
Right.
It's not just like stock. Is going to be very funny. Yes. Hot tip.
So is he a model or is he a diorama? I guess that's whatever the person thinks the weaker competition is when they're submitting it.
Well, it's going to be an interesting problem at Golden Demon because, like, traditionally, single figure is that. That's the name of the category. AOS
Right.
single figure. Like, he's one guy, and sure, sometimes, like, even in single figure, you'll see people have like other dead figures as part of the base, or a Nurgling jumping around, or whatever, right? But like, there's one central figure. This is really pushing it if you put this guy in single figure. Like, now there's 7 other people hanging out on this dais. What are you talking about? There's a party up in here.
Well, when you're paint judging it, you have to judge all his retinue first before you can judge him, just like his rules.
That's a good point. Exactly. Yeah. If you fail, you could just get to the samurai guy and be like, up. And they could be like, well, I did a really good job on Lord Krakatoa there. And I'll be like, well, I'm sorry, I couldn't beat the samurai. You failed on him. So, yeah, that tracks. All right. What else we got, Tom? What's next on the news?
Next month's White Dwarf hosts of Selesky.
Yeah.
And 4 new battalions.
That's right.
Not that you can't like use it in events or anything, but you could at least like play it.
I mean, you don't know that that's not going to be pointed and perfectly fine. And
It doesn't matter. Like they even said on the FAQ, anything that's not in the general handbook.
Oh, get out of here, Tom. Get out of here with that.
You can't do the Fire Slayer stuff. It said it in the FAQ, so nobody else gets to have fun toys either.
1, no. 2, I'm sure many TOs would allow it. 3, I don't care. I would use it in my basement game anyways. There is a difference between matched play and competitive play.
Sure.
So whatever. As GW themselves have recently discussed by talking about how they're going to add points into Legends, as they should have, and just said it's not for competitive play, it's just for matched play. Well done.
Sure.
That is a valid distinction. That of the greater universe of games played as match play, probably 90% plus are not competitive games in that sense of the word, right? They are just match play games you are playing amongst 2 people at a store or in your basement or whatever. They might be played in a competitive fashion, but they aren't tournament style competitive games. Anyway, so cool. I'm excited about that. Celeste is like my favorite romantic couple of the Mortal Realms, and they're a great model, and I've always used Celeste in my army. She has to stay home for Holy Havoc next month, sadly, just because I couldn't fit that many characters in. Most of my list is characters. Let's not lie here. Even at 1,000 points, I'm shoving in every character I can. But Celeste sadly had to sit by the sidelines. So, darn. But I'm excited.
Yep.
I think if there's anything we as a community need, it's more support for Slaanesh. I really feel like we've been underserved,
Yeah.
Yeah. Just really, that book came out, and then, frankly, no one's even been talking about it. And that just really hurts me because it feels like it's not, it needed more attention. It was such a great moment of celebration after so many years of non-attention. So I'm glad this will bring it back into the consciousness.
You're a terrible person. And no one agrees with you.
Well, I don't know. On their web store for a week, like when you tried to click on Stormcast, it would actually just link you right to the Slaanesh thing. I found it strange.
That seems like absolutely correct. Yes. I think all links should just redirect, or at the very least, there should be a pop-up when you go to anything else and select it, where it's just like, ba-doop, did you really want to go to Slaanesh instead?
Yeah, like the paperclip.
Right.
Let me help you out here. It seems like you're trying to leave Slaanesh behind.
It was like
You
a
know what
demon
the
at.
Dark Prince does for you?
Yes, exactly. The Dark Prince has plans for you. Come on, over here where all the good stuff is. It's fun. It's good stuff. All right. So anyway, yeah, I'm excited about that. Do we have anything else? I don't think we have anything else. It was a slow news week,
We don't.
which is good. Good. I want to get right into the cities as quick as possible. Next up, next thing, pick of the week. Joe, what would you like to share with everybody? You got anything exciting you want to share?
Well, I've been in radio silence and 110% busy the last 2.5 weeks.
Yes.
So my pick of the week is what it would have been 2.5 weeks ago. So if you've heard this, apologies. But my friend Mr. Mephisto has started Rantcast, and by started, I guess I mean been doing it for almost a month now. And please do check it out. It's on Twitch, although it's everywhere else too, because he learned how to put his podcasts up on places people use, like Apple Store, I think, or just stuff, I have yet to figure this out because I'm still new at this. I just do YouTube. But yeah, it's a good time. He has a whole bunch of guests on, and it's pretty much just hot takes, top to bottom, which can be a lot of fun. And there's a lot of chat interaction, always reading and responding to chat and stuff, which is a little different than YouTube in that regard. But yeah, it's fun, and I recommend you should watch it, friends.
It is, and plus he has a corgi that will sometimes make an appearance.
He has a
It's very
corgo,
cute
yeah,
dog.
and sometimes a corgo can, so you can see it. And if you have a dog on camera, it ups your view count by like 20% just straight away.
Immediate increase. I learned that having like a face where people can see the eyes in your thumbnail ups your people clicking on it.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, that's a shame. I don't think I've
And
ever had
people-
that and never will.
And people don't read words, but they will read pictures of words. 2019. So
Wow.
yeah, there it is.
Okay. All right. See, this is why my thumbnails always fail, because I'm very utilitarian. I'm just like, nah, it's good. So thank you all, loyal viewers, for people who just maybe clicked on this for the first time. Welcome. I'm excited that you decided to click on this weird thing. Good stuff. You're awesome. All right. Tom, what's your pick of the week? Oh. We lost Tom. He's gone. We lost him. That's fine. I'm sure he'll be back in a minute. Oh,
That's one way to handle not being prepared for a pick of the week. I should have done that.
He was like, I've got nothing. He pulls the ripcord.
Tom, do you have a pick of the week? Oh, I'm lagging. I don't.
Well,
Preston is right here.
exactly. I'll go with my pick. So my pick was actually sent to me by our buddy Domus. Domus, who,
Nice.
yes, TO of Midwest Meltdown and all around one of the most awesome people in the world, sent me a link to a new battle report channel called Partners at War, which is like a husband and wife playing Warhammer and battle reporting it. And so I'll link down below in the show notes. The episode is like Khorne versus Gits, so it's a lot of fun. As there's a bunch of bloodthirsters getting in fights with trolls and troll hags, and they both play very fun armies.
Oh, that's a great fight.
Yeah, it's real cool, and they like they're both clearly like not being hyper competitive, so which would be very strange with your partner, I assume. But it's a competitive game. But it's a fun game, is my point. And they go back and forth, so it's good. Check it out. I'll link that down below. Hopefully Tom will come back here in the next minute, but nonetheless, he can share his pick then if he wants to. Until then, oh hey, there he is. See, just like that. I was just about to go away from you, Tom. Tom, what's your pick of the week? Tom, are you back?
Yeah.
There you go. What's your pick of the week, Tom?
I don't have one.
Fair enough. Tom's pick of the week is he's on vacation, and he hasn't even I've been lucky to get 2 words in with him this week. I swear to God, he has just been checked out, and you've had a rough week, so that's okay.
Yeah. Pina colada is the pick of the week.
I bought a new car today.
And on vacation, thousands of miles from your home, because your car broke down, not because you're living that I'll just randomly buy a new car lifestyle. You want to cash that, my friend.
My car blew up.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of week that I'm having. But I got to go to Galaxy's Edge at Disney World, and it was fantastic.
There you
all
go.
the Star
That's your
Wars
pick
stuff.
of the week.
So
Galaxy's Edge. It was cool.
Yes. Hey, there's a video. Vince, you talked about a video that
If you want to see a cool breakdown of Galaxy's Edge, not that Jenny Nicholson needs me talking about her. She has hundreds and hundreds of thousands of subs and hundreds of thousands of people watch every video, but she does an awesome breakdown of Galaxy's Edge. Yeah.
yes. Go check it out. There you go. There's my pick of the week.
Cool. Fair enough. See, we got there, Tom. Teamwork makes the dream work, my friend. All right, so let's talk about some hobby time. Hey, well, you're back home for this long trip. You're back at your desk. Have you started working on anything yet, and/or what are you going to be working on?
Oh yeah. Since I have a little bit of free time now that I'm back, I've spent all of it working on my next show because people have been waiting a long time. But what I did do was I spent money and stuff was brought to me, which is like hobby. In a
That's Tom's favorite hobby.
Yeah, I was gonna say. And so I've got some ogre things that have only just arrived. Some iron guts, which I'm going to use the top halves of, and some other stuff. Long story short, I'm Frankensteining together a lot of Beast Claw stuff in preparation for the book that's surely coming out tomorrow and will be amazing.
I have no doubt that any day now, could be this Sunday, they make the announcement that next Saturday it goes on pre-order. It could happen.
Yeah, I'm thinking January 2020 at soonest. But you know what? I like surprises.
I think it'll drop pretty fast when it drops because, as I said, I really
Got to
think
drop
we're
the
only
Bone
getting...
Boys, right? You know?
Yeah, around the
think.
same time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think
And I
you'll
think
just
we'll
get the
have-
plastic butcher and plastic other guy. Tyrant, yeah.
Well, I think we'll get a box, right? You think we're gonna get a combo box?
Bones versus Guts.
Yep. Something.
There could be a new getting
or-
started. They just showed that they're willing to do getting starteds with book drops as a way to supplement product.
True, but I mean, do you think they would do the new hero in that? I mean, the higher price point would be just to do them in like single plastic. Can I stop us real quick and just highlight the fact that Arch Regents still aren't out yet in single model?
Who cares? Take a let me help you out. Ready? Here you go. Scourge wings. You can get them anywhere. There's lots of them. Or any other tiny wing. Or Vargolf wings. Or whatever. Right? You got a Ghoul King, right? Staple
I don't
two
care about
little
that.
tiny wings on him. Ta-da! Arch Regent. Like, guys, look. You know how I made 2 more Bombardiers? I took extra Hellstorm rocket batteries, like the rockets that you get extra, and I put them on Warlocks. Guys, it's not hard. Okay.
But like, how are we this far out? That's what I'm saying. Like, we're what, 7 months later, 8 months later?
I don't know, but I know I paid like $0 for my additional Warlock Bombardiers, and I'd be paying more dollars than that if they released the clam pack. So $0 was better than more dollars.
I'm just saying.
It's not hard. If you're playing Flesh Eaters, you already have extra Ghoul Kings. I guarantee it. Because they're all basically, any ghoul can be a Ghoul King. They all basically look the same. It's just a bunch of little...
The one's just standing on a rock instead. That's the only difference.
Yeah.
Same size.
Put a rock under him, put some wings on his back. Easiest conversion ever. You're not having to like scratch build an ironclad here, okay? Like get out of here.
So actually, with that, let me do a related acknowledgement / news / thing that just dawned on me. Hey, let's have some speculation, a short speculation moment, and talk about what we think the 4 armies boxes are going to be.
Ooh, okay. So we're very soon now. They're going to announce the brand new Battle Force boxes for
Christmas.
Yep.
So what are they?
So
Oh boy!
the views at home, a Battle Force box is 1 army.
Normally it's 1 army. Normally it's about $300 worth of product normally, and it runs 180, 170 to 180 retail. Like that's normally the discount that you're getting on most of those boxes. I don't know the raw points. I just know that like what the retail discount normally is because
Sure,
I'm a nerd.
No
Okay.
problem.
Hey,
Are they usually new armies or old armies? Or
They're normally armies that got released that year.
Well, it's a mix. It's often a little bit of a mix. It'll be like 2 and 2 or 3 and 1. They'll often have an older force in there too.
Well, a lot of armies are getting released.
Yeah, sure.
There's a lot to choose from, even if it's just this year. There's a lot.
Right. Right, and that's the point. Is that normally like it kind of wrote itself. Like last year, it wrote itself because we got like Daughters, Doc, Slaves to Darkness, which is the really weird one. Which is whatever I thought we had a new army coming with them. So Slave to Darkness, because normally they do like 3 old ones and then 1 new forthcoming army. Like 2 years ago they did the Death, and then we had Death like released a couple months later. And so the last year we had Daughters, Doc, or I'm sorry, Doc, Ideneth, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Ideneth had one.
Daughters, Ideneth, Slaves, and then something else. I don't remember what the fourth one was. But
Okay.
So what do you guys think? So we have a lot of armies picked from this year.
Sure. Gits. Many people in the comments have said Gits. I agree with
Yeah.
that completely.
Yeah.
Yep.
That one just makes
I think
sense.
it'll be heavy. I think it'll be heavy squigs too. Like it'll be bodies and squigs. Like it'll have a mix of all of it.
Sure. Sure. Well, I mean, it'd be mostly the newer plastic stuff, which means it's going to be squig heavy in some way, right? Because a lot of the new like hoppers and bounders and stuff, you know.
Yep.
How about a Slaanesh box? Seems excessive. I think that's appropriate.
It seems excessive. Yeah.
Mhm.
Warclans just got souped together, and so they each had like individual boxes from a long time ago. Maybe it's time for start collecting Warclans where it's, you know, some Bone Splitters, some Iron Jaws, maybe be a thing.
Sure. Yeah, like a big the big Wah box. Yes, agreed.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a slam dunk.
Like it's got Gordrak, it's got a whole bunch of Arrow Boys, it's got, you know, some Ard Boys.
No.
It probably wouldn't have a Maul
No.
Crusher because they don't generally include those models.
Oh
that are
wait, yeah, that would be
big.
too huge for a box, wouldn't it?
It would be, but
No.
I
Yeah.
think, but nonetheless, I think you're darn
Well, I
right.
mean, Drycha was in the Sylvaneth a couple years ago, so I mean,
They include
like,
the $80 models, not the $130 models.
Oh,
right.
There's so like you can put Manfred or whatever, you know, that build in there, but you're not going to put Nagash in there. That's the point, right?
Right.
So because there's like a cut point. But anyways, yes, there will be a big Wah box. That just makes sense.
I disagree. So I think that we'll get one from each Grand Alliance. I think we'll get Gits as our destruction. I think that we will, because normally it's not the armies normally that have released in the fall. Like normally it's the early year stuff. So I'm actually going to go with Gits. I agree on Slaanesh.
Yeah.
I think it'll be Slaanesh. It'll probably maybe be Selesky to line up with the.
That's why they're putting it in the October thing. Sure.
Yeah. Yep. So Selesky would be the primary hero in there. I think it'll be. I think Flesh Eater Courts as Death. That seems like low-hanging fruit that's easy for them to do that they haven't done yet. And I think that I would actually say that the fourth one would be a Cities of Sigmar box. Not because they've already done Sylvaneth before. They could do Sylvaneth again, but I think with Cities they can clear out a bunch of inventory and mix up a bunch of kits that they haven't done before. Like they haven't put in a box together before. So have some elves, dwarves, and humans.
Sure.
All kind of smashed together.
Box.
Yeah,
Yes,
they've probably got plenty of those models lying around, so sure.
Right. Like, so it just makes sense, kind of like I could see them do like the dwarf Iron Drake kit, the like a demigriffs, a griffin, and shadow warriors or something.
Sure.
You know, it's like some mix of all of that. Yeah.
That's all
what
fine.
I'm getting.
That's all fine. I hope they blow us away and do like a couple battle forces for 2 different cities again, like they did with those city boxes. But like they didn't cover all the cities. Give us some of the other cities they didn't do. That'd be cool.
Like I have a Tempest Eye box and I love it. Like
last time they did what? Hammerhall, Tempest Eye, and Anvilgard.
Yep, and I keep I have that box on my shelf, like because it's a beautiful box. Like I love the design of that box. I wish they went back to that instead of the other dumb big white boxes.
Sure.
So.
Yep. There you go. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. We'll know in a couple weeks when they announce them. So, rock on. Also, they did recently in this last week put up like their event attending schedule, and we know that they're going to be at Blood and Glory, and they'll do a Blood and Glory reveal again.
Nice.
Cool.
And so that'll be the weekend we're all at Holy Havoc.
Of course it will.
It's that Saturday there or Friday night. It's that Friday night. Yeah.
Nice.
So there you go. Cool. All right. So, at any rate, Tom, hobby time. What are you working on back at home? Still ghosts? Them ghosts gonna be
Still
ready?
yeah, I mean, I have the finishing touches on my 3 heroes to do. Like, they need to be finished. Like, I'm almost done with my base coats, and then I'll do some highlights and stuff like that. But I'm not going too crazy. And then I have to do my chariot, and then some endless spells. But I'm having more fun with the endless spells than anything. So
Cool.
yeah.
So I've had a semi frustrating week in hobby time, to be completely honest. I finished up my warlord for Holy Havoc, and I'm real happy with her.
Yeah.
She's so I used the one of the Varangard, because I wanted to use the I've been sitting on a Varangard box that I'm going to convert over to be Slaaneshi Varangard, and then they'll also stand in as like the appropriate 75 mil based characters, like cavalry characters, so
Yeah.
I can use it as like a demonic, a Chaos Lord on demonic mount, or of Slaanesh, or this warlord, or whatever, or Varangard. When you put all three together, they can just be the Varangard. And so I did her up, and I was real happy with her, and that's fine. But like, there was no great love for it. Halfway through the project, I was about ready to throw her against a wall. And then I finished her, and I put together the other, this girl. Oh, they also announced, not, it doesn't have anything to do with AOS, but I don't know if I can see that or not. It's the Sisters of Battle special character. Or not special character, I'm sorry. The Sisters of Battle, Sister Superior or whatever. That's going to be in the box set that they gave us at Nova. And I put her together, and I've got her all punk rocked out in the way I want. And then I sat down to paint her and was like, I have no idea what I actually want this to look like, and realized I have no paint scheme for this Sisters Army. Like, it's one of those cases where be careful what you wish for. Like, I've wanted this army for so long, and now I have no idea how to paint it. And I tried 100 different schemes, and could not for the life of me come up with a paint scheme or a color I like. I hate all of the stock orders. I think they're all garbo. Every one of them, top to bottom, is terrible. They're all ugly. And like, I hate the black, I hate the white. They're just all so flat. They're just flat. And I just cannot figure out exactly what I wanted to paint it. So I was like, fine. So instead, I'm painting this big dumb thing. I guess I said I was only going to have, neither of you two can see this, but it's a giant,
Nope.
yeah, you should not point your camera directly at the light. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, I'm working on it. Thanks.
It's a Gorgon converted to be a Beast of Chaos, Keeper of Secrets. It's got the Keeper's Claws on top, and then like the whip and a different weapon and stuff. And so, it's, can you turn a Gorgon into a Keeper of Secrets? And the answer is most certainly yes. So this will be my male beastie Keeper of Secrets for the Depraved Drove, because why not? I guess I said I was done with Slaanesh, but it's time to be excessive. I can't stop myself. And I've just been painting this thing and not enjoying it because whatever. But it's fine. I'm going to get through it. Sometimes we just power through. And I find myself in a bit of a, like, I'm just like, I want to work on a Golden Demon thing. Like, I've got 20 things I want to work on and 0 things I want to work on. That's the problem. I don't have anything that's really hit in that sweet spot. But I have a question that I want the audience to start thinking about now, which is, and it's going to come up later in our cities discussion, which is, if you wanted to use some gyrocopters, but you didn't want to use gyrocopters. Like, let's say you wanted to use gyrocopters, but you really hated the existing model. But you,
I mean,
well,
you've already asked. You asked me
the
this.
shoes, right?
Yes, I
Like,
did. I text. What's that? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Awa.
Well, you have to pretend like you don't like the gyrocopter. Oh no, wait, I did it. It was actually really easy. All right, carry on.
All right, great. So you've pretended that way because we all do, because it's a not very attractive model. They're just silly. Copter and bomber, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like dwarfy things, and I don't like the look of those things, but I like the idea of the thing. So I need some kind of proxy or stand-in or thing I can convert or whatever. And I have no idea. This is the closest I can come up with. You two won't be able to see this, but I had this image queued up for this discussion. Bow is this thing. Oh, it's kind of blocked. Here, I'll pull him out. There you go. These are the Reavers from the Drukhari. So it's a single person jet bike. Okay.
Yep.
And I I like the look of these, and you get 3 in a box, which is cool because you can take 3 gyrocopters in a unit. You can get 3 of these for cheaper, and they're about the right size. That is to say, like they're on gyrocopters and stuff are on like, and bombers are on like a 50 mil round or whatever, and these guys are on a like about the same size base. So like I think this would be a cool thing. I just don't know if it's too techy. I don't know. Let me bring our people back here.
Like I'm not down with it. Like I get what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But
somebody said fight Obamas from Aeronautica Imperialis. Yeah, the little mini full size 40K planes. I think they're a little too small. I did look at that.
Let me say it this way. It depends on what you're making. Okay, so if you want to do something like, not Anvilgard. If you wanted to do something like,
this is a Tempest Eye army.
Oh, it's a Tempest Eye army.
Yeah.
A Tempest Eye army, I would definitely do some type of modified Endrin thing. I would go spend the $8 or $10 on for the smaller Endrins from the frigate.
Yeah.
And do like little mini Endrins so that they're bigger than the Endrin rigger Endrins, but they're smaller than the full ship Endrins. And so I would do, or the smaller Endrin from the Ironclad. That would also work. Because, and then with it being Tempest Eye, it's like obviously in theme with KO. If you were doing something like Living City, I would do Hawk Riders, like dropping bombs.
Yeah, boring. No, I want it to be technical in some way. I don't want it to be.
You want it to be tech, not just pure magic or wings.
I would do Endrins are the right way to go.
Boring. I'm not doing Endrins. I thought about that. You could just cannibalize a bunch of those, but no, I don't like the globes that much. And like the steam tank with KO balloons, somebody, Anthony said that in the chat. Like that's what Ben did for his flying steam tank. I have no problem with that. Like I was originally thinking about that same thing, but I was like, nah, I want to go different than that. Like I want to hold different. I want to unify the aesthetic of an army here, and so that's what I've been trying to think about. Shout out to Autumn Lotus who said, "Have you seen the Disney Atlantis movie? Make them like those kind of jet bikes." And that is a hot pick. That is a hot pick. Like I dig that. All right.
You could do Zeppelins. Get the balloons, the smaller Zeppelin balloons from Titan Forge. And you could do Zeppelins.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to Zeppelins. Like that's okay. Zeppelins are fine. That's cool. That's very Rocketeer. Right? And so I'm down with that. And I think that's kind of the aesthetic that I like that sort of Art Deco type of thing. I think would be a cool aesthetic for an army. I just don't know how I don't know how I would pull that off, but it's, but those jet bikes aren't, you could turn them into that. They have those hard, clean lines, right? Which is what that Art Deco needs. Yeah, at any rate. So, speaking of, let's talk about some cities, guys. We finished all this other stuff. Let's get into the cities.
All right.
All right. So, gentlemen, let's start with a 40,000-foot view, as usual. To begin with the overview. Hey, Wo, kick us off. What do you think overall the Cities of Sigmar book? After looking it over, what's your initial take on it?
I like it. I think it's very interesting what they did. Without, jumping too far ahead, a lot of the jobs that things could have, the War Scrolls have kind of moved towards each other in a way. So you have like fast cavalry from this race, fast cavalry from this race, fast cav from this race with shooting, fast cavalry from this race with shooting, and then like, Elven Swordmaster style humans, Elven Swordmaster style dwarves, Elven Swordmaster style elves or something. And they've kind of homogenized it a little bit, but there's key differences, and generally the hero of whatever race that is kind of giving them a bonus or two or just some different thing. Right. Some of them rend, some don't. Like the points are different by 10, 20, 30 sometimes, but for the most part you have races that generally have a unit per job that you would want an army to have, and reasonably equivalent with some wiggle room units in every other race that kind of do those things. And then you have all these cities that these people can be from. with some sort of rule that is going to oblige you to move your list building in some direction, like whatever your play style happens to be for the most part. And so you're like, you can at the same time be a Hammerhall army, and so is your friend, and all of your Hammerhall guys are dwarves, and all of his are elves and a quarter stormcast.
Right.
Each of the ones, if you're building them similarly, it's like, okay, here's my fast unit, here's my anvil stuff, here's my hero on a thing. But it allows you to use the playstyle you want, and for the most part, pick up your old stuff from the race that you liked and kind of plop it in whatever city you want, and be reasonably okay. Like, are hammers that much worse than greatsworders? Not really. If you're using their heroes and their synergies and everything, if you zoom out a little bit. And they didn't go too far with the homogenization, which is always a danger because then everything's the same and nothing's interesting. But they did it just enough, I think, that you can take your old race or your old faction that you like and plop it in a playstyle that you also like and not suffer too greatly for it. Obviously, there's just going to be, like, because usually, it's pretty much a numbers game. There's just going to be a best
Right.
grindy foot hero. There's just going to be a best cavalry in the book. And so, yeah, you can just choose that. But, if you're like, you know what, I just like Wildwood Rangers, man. And I know such and such thing is better, but I like them, and I'm going Living City, and it's all the Wood Elves working together again. Alariel forgave them in the lore, and now they're buddies. And, it's still cool. And there's so much customization you can do with it. It's like infinite. It's so great.
Yeah, and I will say, I think I agree, and I think that answer of like what is the appropriate thing can oftentimes change based on the city and the exact synergies that you're trying to necessarily go with. Like, yes, in the void, I think oftentimes there can be like a mathematical one, but when you're playing certain synergies or playing to the strengths of certain cities, that answer might change sometimes. Not every time, but sometimes. And I think that's nice. And I agree with you. It's not like if you want to do this other racist thing, you're going to be that far off in a lot of cases. And in fact, you might then be better served depending on what's going on, depending on what your overall kind of plan is. Yeah, right on. Totally good. Good take. Tommy, what about you? You're thinking, Tom. That doesn't make for great TV.
I know.
Try not to hurt any feelings here.
I mean, you all know what you're in for. No, I mean, the reality is that, like, I like the book a lot. I really do. I think that they did, GW did an excellent job with the book. I think that there are some weaknesses to the book, and I think we'll get to that. That's what I'll say.
Okay, fair enough. For my money, my 40,000-foot view is I am greatly impressed that for the most part they made 5 to 6 of the cities feel like they are interesting choices that all have potential play and armies that can work with everything in here, that I see like lots of different potential builds. And I only spot one city that's like below the curve and one city that's above the curve. And like, really, that's pretty good by the standards of most of these books. And like, even then, they're not as bad, potentially, depending on a particular FAQ answer. We'll get to that when we get there. We'll get there, folks. We're going to get there, okay? It's coming. The discussion is coming, but we'll get there.
Yeah, and the ones that aren't above or below the curve, which is only 2 of them, I think.
Yeah, agreed.
Are good. Like, there's nothing hugely wrong with most of them.
Nope. In fact, most of the armies I've been building has been in, let's call it the fat middle of the cities of this book. This is the truly fat middle. We got 5 of them hitting in that middle space. We got 1 punching above and 1 punching below, right?
Yeah, when I started going over cities, which was recently because I was away, I'm still in like Melvin mode when I'm looking through this. And so I'm just like, oh, this could be fun. This is a neat interaction. Oh, what if I wanted to build an army themed around this? Like, I'm not quite in, okay, what's the best thing mode. You don't want to jump in that too quick, I don't think.
Mhm.
Especially with a review, you know. Although it's very fun to talk about.
Yeah,
So
it's
again,
funny
but
because somebody
there's some silly stuff in here. We'll just put it that way.
there is.
I'm sure everybody knows about it, but there's
Yes.
some other silly stuff as well. But
Shout out to Cinderfall, who said that like this book is usually best when it's played with sort of a mix of races and factions and different things. They're all kind of working together in different. I'm adding some words to him here, but that are acting in different power pairs. And like that's what I keep finding too, is like I want a little bit of this synergy over here and this synergy over here and this synergy over here. And like I can very easily create like 3 little power pairs that are gonna shoot the game plan of what I want to do in this particular city.
Yep.
And I tend to have this mix of different races. Like it actually does feel like most of the armies I've built, I've been building cities armies. Right?
yeah,
Which is
such a success rules wise from
Yeah.
lore, right? Because they're melting pots.
Yeah, like it's funny. It feels when I'm building armies here very familiar. It feels like I'm building my dwarf book, right? Because my entire dwarf army, my entire dwarf army was built on 3 sets of power pairs from 3 different like racial divisions of dwarves, and it feels right, is what I would say. And I would agree with you, Vince, that like that they divided up those very well.
Yeah, so I think the way we want to structure this discussion, like many people have done a full breakdown of like everything in the book. Honest Wargamer Rob did one, and Paul has done a breakdown, and Doom. Wait, has Doom done his cities one yet? No, he did. I don't remember. He did his orc one, and that was really
He did
good.
Orclands. He was still rendering it or something.
Right? Yeah. I'm sure he'll have his cities thing coming, but the orc one was great. At any rate, the point is that lots of people have gone blow by blow. And I'm not really keen to do that, but I do want to structure our discussion under the auspice of the cities, right? Because I think that's important to that is the governing force. By the way, ring a ding ding, I'll predict a thing. Predictions update. Right now, on the current predictions, I am in the lead. Tom is in second. And Eric is way, way behind. Poor Eric. Yeah.
For what? Predictions for what?
So we did a prediction show 2 weeks back where we each had to make 3 predictions about the Cities of Sigmar, the Auric War Clans, and the Maw Tribes, the 3 current upcoming books. We each had to make 3 predictions about what was going to be in them and how they were going to work. And then we had to put money where our mouth is, basically $20 a piece. So like then whoever wins, everybody buys them a kit. Is what happens, right? Like you're buying a kit for somebody. That's how it gets cashed out.
So are you? So yeah, we'll talk about that.
That's fine.
So how far are you in the lead?
By 1. You're right behind me by 1. I haven't updated it yet. I still need to continue going through the Auric War Clans to update it. The cities is the funniest breakdown, Tom, because you and I went 3 for 3 on cities. And Eric you and I went 3 for 3 on cities, and Eric went 0 for 3.
Ooh.
Oh, poor Stone Monk. He went big though. And the reason I say this is because he went for the free city generator, right? And said like that there would be a way to generate your own cities.
Oh yeah, for your dudes, yeah.
Uh-huh. And Tom got the big score because he took a swing and said, we will only have the cities from Firestorm, and you will have to choose to be from one of those cities. There's no create your own city, and you can't take a generic city, which is correct. You must, which is what I say to transition into governing this discussion, because you must choose a city. So real quickly, let's just lay down the generic stuff. When you choose a Cities of Sigmar army, you must give it a city keyword from the list below. Now, of course, we should say there's no reason you can't do quote-unquote successor cities, which I know many people have already done, right? Like, you can be, Harrowheart, the death version of Hallowheart, or whatever, I don't know.
Hey, that's mine! Don't take mine, yes.
Yes, the horrible generic thing I just said is in fact your idea, Tom. That's right.
Boom! Hallowheart, not Harrowheart.
Oh, sorry.
Hollow.
So instead of like living city or breathing city or coma city.
Right.
Graywater Fastness is like gray model slowness.
Right. Yeah.
Anvilgard is like hammer guard, I guess.
Yeah. Hammer.
Everything's just a little less.
Yes. So
Tempest. Anyway.
Tempest nose, Tempest
Yeah.
ears. Yeah. Yeah. Or the Tempest ears army. Yes. Or you could switch the other side. Where the Hurricane's eye. Oh, kind of works. Or I'm just trying to think of other things that are Tempest.
Stormy nose.
Typhoon eye. Yeah, exactly. So yes, you must choose one of those. All of your Cities of Sigmar wizards empower endless spells. We did a whole show on that last week and talked about, the various endless spells and how they get better. If your general is 6 wounds or less, he can have a retinue. Basically, the unit has to be between 5 and 20 models of 1 wound. Or no, sorry, not 1 wound dudes. This is not the one that cares about that. You just must have between 5 and 20 models. And then basically, if the retinue is near him, they can take wounds from the general on a 4-up. And then as well, the general can have an adjutant. When you choose the general, if your general has a wounds characteristic of 6 or less, you can pick 1 friendly hero to be your adjutant, who also must be 6 wounds or less and cannot be your general. He can't be his own adjutant. And he can then, if you do so, basically, every round on a 4-up, you get a bonus command point. And then with all cities, 1 in 4 of your units can be Stormcast. So those are our generic rules. Okay?
Yeah, and importantly, the Stormcast are not allies, and they gain the relevant keywords. So you're getting everything with that. There's no need to worry.
It is also not points limited. So, like, your 1 in 4 could be a Star Drake, and that would be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I love it.
It could be Alariel. It's like it's just units. That's it.
Yep. It's just units. So you could very easily have a Living Cities army that has, like, I'm trying to think of the most expensive potential ally. Is one of the Eidolons less than or 400 points or less?
Gotrik's 520 and he breaks the rule, so that would be the most.
There you go. That's fine. I was trying to pick something from IDK because I thought it'd be funny to have because they can be an ally. So
Eidolons are 420.
So
the other one 400, so you could do it.
There you go. So whichever one of the Eidolons is 400 and a Star Drake and a Loriel in the Living City, and then it's just 3 battle line units of Living City people.
Right, we're jumping ahead, but that was exactly what I went to with Living City.
Yeah.
Was since 1 in 4 can be Sylvaneth and 1 in 4 can be Stormcast, and you have allies, how few actual cities units can you include in an army, and how minor can their role be just for extra hilarity?
Mm-hmm.
And I actually made a list with 300 points of cities units and 1,700 points of Alariel, Celestin Prime, Concussors, a Necromancer, and Skeleton Mercenaries. For those listening at home, please build some really lopsided Living City lists and tweet about it.
You can do the same thing with Tempest Eye, by the way.
Yeah,
because they can have KO.
Yeah.
Yep. Because you can just start throwing in roll out the Ironclad. That's fine.
Yep. I made a Tempest Eye list with an Alpha Striking Star Drake, 9 Engine Riggers.
Hold on, real quick. I want to answer a comment because I just want to. I want to get this out there because I think it's going to be really important for a future discussion. So Dave asked in the comments, do you think you could get away with playing your Dispossessed Thunderers as free guild handgunners? The answer is yes. So let me. I just want to make a very brief blanket statement on this. Yet, not only can you should. Many I don't mean you should if you're not doing that, you're doing it wrong. What I mean is many of those handful of units that got cut are duplicates for things that are still there. Archers and infantry with big swords and dudes with guns and stuff like that, right? And these cities are supposed to be a cosmopolitan, heterogeneous mix of the races, a la most cities in D&D, right? This is actually how D&D has been for most of its history, where you would go into big cities like Waterdeep and you would see dwarves and elves and humans and everybody just living side by side. And you'd go to when you saw the city guard, it's not just all humans. And
they're living in power pairs, not exactly side by side.
Sure, fair enough. But the point is that 100%. I would love to see mixed units. you know, have some human handgunners and some dwarven thunderers and whatever. Like, have archer units be mixes of elf archers and human archers and whatever. Yes.
Yeah, put those Glade Guard to good use after, you know.
Absolutely.
You have
Yes.
like, you know, 6 Glade Guard and then some high elf archers and whatever, just same bases. It really, it would look really cool on the table, I think.
Yes, it not only is it fine, it's fantastic because it's just a great opportunity to build the city how they're supposed to feel. So you should not feel bad for a moment. I mean, obviously the only rule you need to be mindful of is the basing rule, right? I mean, that is the rule. Everything that you're doing should be on the appropriate size base. As long as you're living that life, you go crazy, go nuts. So, okay.
And reasonable, what you see is what you get. Like, they should probably have guns, right? Or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. But like in this case where it's thunderers for handgunners, I mean, man, that's a dead match. You know what I mean? If you're so.
And then you can give KO some fun hats, some great hats, big feathers.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. KO with pirate hats is a solid thing, or some tricorn, like this guy's hat, the dude on the front. He's got a great hat with a feather. The like Stormcast dude, or not Stormcast. I'm sorry, the greatsword guy on the front of the Cities book himself. That guy's got a great hat.
Well, yeah, great cover too.
It really is.
Full cover.
It really is a fantastic
Cities of
cover.
Sigmar a little better, but this one's still pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So okay. I'm sorry, Tom. You were in the middle of something. I probably broke your train of thought, but it was just like it was so important that I wanted to really like it hit a button and I wanted to make sure we answered it real quick. Tom, are you still
I don't remember.
Nah, that's okay.
I am.
That's okay. We were talking about KO and these crazy mixed armies, and you said something about KO.
Tempest list with a Alpha Striking, Star Drake, Endrin Riggers, and then Mercenaries having 10 Hearthguard Berserkers Deep Striking.
Sure.
Why not?
Why not?
All the best Alpha Strikers, one list.
Yeah. Tristan said, "Did you all see the dwarves on stilts with extra big axes for greatswords?" No, but I think that sounds fantastic.
On stilts, great.
Yeah, the stilts is what really makes that. Okay.
Use the boy stilts from Warcry.
Yeah. All right. So, gentlemen, I thought we'd go through the cities in order, talk about some of like the synergies, perhaps the obvious or not so obvious builds, kind of what we see as the potential of it, that sort of thing. Sound like an okay framework?
Sure. Sounds great.
All right. I'm just going to do them in the order in the book, so if people have the book, they can just float along with us here. So let's start with the city that is generally the most well-known. You two can't see it, but I have a picture of it up right now that the people have been looking at for the entire show, which is the city of Hammerhall. There's a beautiful piece of art they did with like the portal where it's on the Akshi side and you're looking through the portal at Gairan floating through on the other side. Just like it's one of my favorite pieces of art they've done for that. So Hammerhall. I mean, in general, the relevant rules we should mention real fast. I'm not going to read through like all the artifacts and stuff like that, but I will, at the start of all these, I'll give a quick breakdown of the city. It can be from Akshi or Gairan, and it should be noted that all of these have their realm set, meaning it sets your realm artifacts. Hammerhall has banners held high. Start of your hero phase, you roll a die. For each friendly Hammerhall unit that has any standard bearers, for each 6, you receive an extra command point. Not for every standard, for every unit that has any standards. If your army includes
10 standard units here.
It's no.
MSUs probably is what what you're kind of pushed towards there.
Yep. If your army includes Aventus Firestrike and he is your general, at the start of your first hero phase, you get an extra command point. Nice try.
It's pretty cool.
I'm not falling for that.
Yeah.
What the ability does, if your army includes Aventus Firestrike and he is your general, you've made a horrible mistake.
Yeah.
One extra
Here, have 50
not going to
extra
fix
points.
this awful man.
Yeah, here's a rebate. It is truly a mail-in rebate offer like we used to offer when I worked at Comp. All right. You don't take battle shock tests for friendly Hammerhall units while they're wholly within your territory, which can be interesting in many games because your territory could be, is often, not always, but often half the board. And then they have what I think is a pretty interesting command ability. You can use this command ability at the end of the phase, at the end of the combat phase. If you do so, pick one friendly Hammerhall unit wholly within enemy territory, and wholly within 12 inches of a friendly Hammerhall hero, and within 3 inches of an enemy unit, in other words, one that's still fighting. That friendly unit can fight. So, kind of neat. You can basically, if they failed to clean up at the end of combat, they can try to, they can swing in and try to clean up. And by the way, Autumn, I'm not going out of order. I'm going in the order they are in this book. I'm not skipping. I'm not going out of. They don't go alphabetical, so neither did I. I don't know why they went in the order they did.
They don't even go alphabetical in the back with the units listed for points.
Right.
And they don't go by race because some races, there's like 3 units of this race here and then like 3 over here. It's nonsense.
Yes,
it's the same reason that Hammers of Sigmar is the first foremost.
Right. It's just like, this is... it's in whatever order they imagined was appropriate in their mind. So at any rate, not going alphabetical. Okay. At any rate, so that's Hammerhall. Haywo, what's your take on Hammerfall? On Hammerhall. Sorry.
So their abilities are kind of pulling you in a few different directions.
Mm-hmm.
So we have, you roll dice, try to get command points. I did the math a little bit. If you have 3 units with banners, chance for 1 or more command points is like 42%. If you have 5 units with it, it's about 60%, and 20 of that is getting 2. So like it's a real amount of command points reasonably for your army. And so you kind of want MSU because of that. But if you're MSU, then you're probably getting wiped out and you don't benefit from the battle shock thing.
Right.
And so it's not that it's pulling you in 2 different directions. I feel it's just giving you 2 different options of play in Hammerhall. Mm-hmm. The Righteous Purpose, wholly within enemy territory, can be really tricky when you're playing a real game of Age of Sigmar on the table.
Yep.
Right.
Where your enemy doesn't have to care about any of that stuff. And a fight's just going to happen where it happens. And a lot of the times you can't control where. And a lot of times you got to go back to your side to like defend something.
Mm-hmm.
This will work when it works. Or if your plan works, sometimes maybe not. And you do have to live. You'd have to live to be able to do it,
Yeah, like this
combat has to have gotten hit and just been apparently fine with it to pile in an attack again, which, it's a deadly game. So it wants you to play like big, just good stuff where it's like, their wheel, it's like their move is good, their save is good, their attacks are pretty good, but it's not, hyper specialists like super aggressive or super defensive necessarily. I suppose you could go super defensive and just use the second pile-in as now I'm okay damage or something. But it's just, it's by the books. Hammerhall is like, finally, the world makes sense. It's for that psychology where it's like, my guys are for going over there on your side, and then my guys over here are defensive. And so when you come, they don't run away.
Yeah.
And everything is just simple and good like that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's egregious, though, in things like Knife to the Heart. In some scenarios that are just set up to not to not do the things you want to do where you're doing them.
Yeah.
And so like you really need to defend that spot, and so you often will need punch to like help clear bodies for the enemy, and you actually don't have the punch where you need it. But you do have it on their side, assuming you can get things across the table. So it's just, I don't know. I have written 0 Hammerhall lists.
Well, it's the most... Here's my call on it. I think Hammerhall is the most mixed sort of forces list. Like, by that, what I mean is, I don't necessarily mean mixed arms in the traditional sense, although that's fine. I mean, like, mixed forces in that it supports having, like, 1 or 2 decent-sized blocks, lots of different chaff and smaller units, and, like, gunners behind, and, things like that, where you've got lots of little units that might have banners. So you're not banking on that strategy. It's just a way to get some extra command points, right?
Sort of like combined arms.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And all your choices are just like the best at what they do. And then all right,
Yes.
I've taken the best of everything, and then here's the thing that just rewards you for being on their side of the table or living through a fight or something.
Right. And I would point that like I would also point out that like what's fascinating about this about Hammerhall when you dig into things like the the traits, the artifacts and the spells is that it is an extremely buffing city. So what I mean by that is like in the command traits, in the command traits alone, you have a 12-inch bubble reroll ones to wound, and you have a 12-inch bubble +1 to hit on the charge, right? And then
Yeah.
in the artifacts, you have like the tool up your guy both offensively and defensively, right? The traditional like +1 to save, or so like you can get your your if you want like the free guild general on Griffin at the 2-up save, great, you can do that or whatever, right? Um, or you can tool up his offense with like picking in one of his weapons and increasing the rend by 1 and damage by 1 if he's close to an objective, which is cool. Or you can take the Twin Stone, which is actually really cool, right?
I
And
love the Twin Stone.
is
Go
so
ahead, but it's a cool idea.
it really is. So like you use this artifact in each of your hero phases. If you do so, you pick one of its aspects, right? And so the Akshi aspect is add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made with melee weapons by friendly Hammerhall units wholly within 12 of the bearer. I would point out that you could stack that with command trait and suddenly everybody around that dude is +2 to hit on the charge. Like that's quite a bit of offense, right? And then, or you can pick the Gyran aspect, which is roll 1 die for each friendly Hammerhall unit wholly within 12 of the bearer. On a 4+, you can heal up to D3 wounds allocated to that unit, which is actually like, again, could be quite a heal depending on if you've got a couple floating units to sit around behind there, right? Like if you get in range of, let's say, 5 units, you proc 2 or 3 of those, 2 or 3d3 healing is not too bad, right?
Yeah, and you don't have to choose the realm you're in.
Right.
When you choose the artifact, which you would think. And then
Right, you just
also,
get to keep
you get to
switching.
choose whichever one every turn. I would like +1 to attack now. Oh, next turn, I got hit. I would like to be healed. Kind of like the army of hits on 2s, almost. You're playing some free guild.
Yep.
And Wings of Fire is like, hey, let's make Demigryphs into actual Morrsar Guard now.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was gonna say too. Like you look at their spells, and it's an interesting mix of like buff, debuff, damage, right? Like it's just hit all the
Everything
bases.
has its place. Yeah.
Yes, they're the most even city. Like that's nothing here is just like blowing the doors off. But you have a good selection at kind of all the different angles. You got a good solid 6 out of 10 in most different choices.
It's like the good vanilla city. Like it's like Hammers of Sigmar. Like I think that's why they launch with this. Is it's the least specialized, the most generalist, and just the most kind of middle of the road, and that's okay.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's not bad to just, you buff your dudes. If you're over there, you can fight twice. You can make your stuff fly. Oh, I need a debuff. I have it. I need some damage. I have it. It's just all this stuff. As far as like the vanilla choice, which it clearly is and supposed to be, it's more interesting than I thought the vanilla choice would be. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, and I mean, like, look, I'm not gonna lie and say I don't love the idea of like giving my general the reroll 1s to wound in a radius around, and the +1 to hit on the charge, and like getting him basically in the middle of a whole lot of great swords and putting them all on, putting them all on like 2s to hit and 3s rerolling 1s to wound, and just like putting them all on basically 1s to hit because they get another +1 on their own, like making them -1 proof. You know what I mean? Like these guys are just, it's just really strong. Like those dudes are gonna go do some work, and like that's my big block. Like that's a big block of relatively efficiently costed potential mortal wound causing dudes who get a bonus to charge and are hitting on 1s and wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s, right? Like, yep, seems like a solid unit. So
yeah, the Beast Claw player in me wants to go Free Guild General and Griffin, 9 Demigryphs, cast Wings of Fire, just leap over the line and
sure,
land on top of Geminids and still hit on 2s and stuff. Just like whatever, let's go. I'll attack again. Yeah, even though it's the default choice, maybe doesn't mean it's not fun
Absolutely.
or couldn't be fun.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just I think there's a lot of I don't think this one like I don't think this more than a lot of the rest of the cities, it doesn't dictate a particular force or like build or anything like that. Like to me, Hammerhall truly works with almost anything that you would want to take out of here, right? Like if you tend to favor dwarves and want to do some dwarven infantry, you can make them rock with the various things that are in here. If you like you mentioned, demis, or if you like the dark elf infantry, or blah, 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 right? Like almost anybody's going to be tooled up by the bonuses in here and do well.
As an aside, I find their battalion to also be middle of the road. And what I mean by that is like
that's a good call. We should talk about the battalions in each one.
Yeah, because every battalion is keyed to a city. And so you only ever get the option of one battalion with any city. Only one. And this battalion, I would say, is usable. It's a concept battalion, so you get basically like a general on Griffin and then a bunch of demigriffs.
Yep.
3 to 6 units of demigriffs. And it's like doing what's on the label, right? It's like it's doing what it should be. It's making the demigriffs more usable. And it's like I think it's a good battalion. There are some of these battalions that are just non-starters. But this one is like, yeah, I think it's doable. And I think it makes the list, like it gives strong options, let me say it that way.
Yeah. It's no Order to Conus of old, Alpha Strike kind of thing.
No, right.
And it's a lot of demigriffs it has you get. It's like 1,000 points.
Yeah.
For minimum everything.
Yeah.
But I'm Beastclaw. I'm used to 1050 for your minimum, I think actually just casting, just taking Twinstone is probably just better than the battalion period, unless you really care about drops. But it's not just bad. Like you could take it and have fun, and it'd be decent. And it's got a game plan, and it can do it. So
no, and I mean, I would point out
most middle of the road battalion that's not like a non-starter, like you said,
right?
But it's not like clearly great.
I would also point out that like pretty easily with this battalion and any sort of combination of the items or traits we just talked about, you could very easily have those demigriffs on basically 1s and 2s rerolling 1s. So like for their entire profile.
Yeah, and with the item on the general on Griffin, like you're healing in a radius now that can heal those demigriffs that are multi-wound, and like there are lots of good options.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a good call, Tom. I had forgot we should discuss the battalion because that absolutely does.
Flight of the Valkyrie is a song you should play when playing that list.
It's good
as long as the spell casts, Otherwise, they're not flying. But
gotta get the spell off.
Yes. Yeah.
Harder for some cities than others.
Well, they have also, by the way, their damage spell is really solid. We kind of just mentioned they have a damage spell, but
it's D6 to big units,
right?
And D3 otherwise.
Yep.
That's good.
It's good. Quite decent in general. If you're getting a D6 mortal wound spell, I'm not gonna hate on that. I'm always gonna be like, okay, cool, I dig that.
Yeah. Cinder Cloud is an inside out hit penalty spell, which I really, really like.
Yes.
A lot of times I don't like hit spells, even though they're of course great. It's because almost all of them are 18 inches. And stuff charges you from outside of 18 inches all the time. And when you're just like, no, actually it's this guy that I don't want you to hit, please. And then it's just whatever. If that guy gets hit, like -1. I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's a bubble -1 around the dude,
Wholly
right?
within.
Yeah. Yep. That's good. Okay. Cool. So, yes, I don't think there's anything that leads... I mean, other than the battalion wants you to play a bunch of demigriffs. And you're right, this is like a pretty expensive... I haven't really looked, but I don't think there's any reason... Hold on, let me look again here. Where are my demis at? Where are they at in this list? There they are. There's no reason you couldn't have your whole army be this battalion. Like you can one drop with this if you wanted to. I had to go look and make sure I was right.
I would really want a wizard to cast that one spell. Sure, it's good.
Sure,
but you could definitely one drop and just be 1,000,000 demigriffs and a griffin.
Sure, the general and griffin, all the demigriffs, and one battle mage. There you go. Yep.
You could 2-drop and still basically outdrop the entire field.
Sure.
Almost certainly, yeah.
So it is not all of them really have that potential in any real way. But yes, you can do this one. All right, cool. Anything else we want to say about Hammerhall? I mean, overall I think it's fun. I don't think it's the most striking because it is the most middle of the road. But I think people will make some Hammerhall armies and be happy with them, I think is the answer. And they will be performant.
If you forced me to make a Hammerhall army, I would not be upset.
Right.
It's fine. It's cool.
Right.
I like bonuses. Like, sure. Spells are good, man.
It's not
I like stacking things. Yes.
Yes. Not the one that trips my trigger, but we'll get to that. And we got a few cities to go.
Yeah.
All right. So next up, we've got the Living City, Alariel's a home, a city entangled in trees and living crap. Gross. Can you imagine how moldy this city is, by the way? This city smells. I mean, they all probably smell, but this one just smells like just probably mold.
Maybe it smells like flowers and gentle springs and other nature things.
Spring mist.
Yeah.
Sure. If you live in the nice part of town, it smells like flowers and like walking across the Irish countryside. If you live in the lower, if you live in the higher areas, if you live in the lower parts of town with like where all the standing water gathers and there's just mosquitoes everywhere, just clouds of them, and they're like,
and let's not even mention the pollen district.
Oh God, just a cloud.
Everyone's just wheezing. Every kid has asthma. Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, Living City.
Yes, the Living City. Obviously, must be from Guyran. You can include Sylvaneth. So, as we mentioned before, 1 in every 4 units can be Sylvaneth, in addition to 1 in every 4 being Stormcast, in addition to allies or mercenaries, yada, yada. Okay. Hunters of the Hidden Paths, this is sort of their main thing. Instead of setting up a unit on the battlefield, you can place it to one side and say that it is set up in the Hidden Paths. You can set up 1 reserve unit for every unit you put on the battlefield. At the end of your movement phase, you can set up 1 or more of these units on the battlefield wholly within 6 inches of the edge of the battlefield and more than 9 inches from any enemy units. Any reserve units in the Hidden Paths that aren't set up before the start of the 4th battle round are destroyed. So pretty standard language for how we see this kind of stuff working now. Attuned to Nature, at the start of your hero phase, you can heal 1 wound allocated to each friendly Living City unit. So most importantly, that does sort of behoove multi-wound things because it doesn't return models. It only heals wounds.
Right.
So, you'll heal your Living City steam tank or your Living City demigriff if he's wounded.
Vines all over the metal.
Exactly. Those are all obviously built of wood. And they run on... They don't burn coal. They just...
photosynthesis, probably. Or
cold
photosynthesis.
Like solar power. They're solar powered.
Coal was plants and stuff.
Millions of years
plants.
Yeah.
There you go.
Fair enough. Okay, and then their command ability, Strike, then Melt Away.
Which is actually a bad name.
It is. Yeah, because it's Strike and then...
Strike,
and
then, get closer.
Yeah, and then get up in their face.
Should be Strike, then Melt Forward while maintaining eye contact. Like, that's what could happen.
Strike and then move laterally to claim an objective or whatever, Okay. Here we go. You can use this command ability at the end of your shooting phase. End of your shooting phase. Very, very important timing. If you do so, pick 1 friendly Living City unit that shot in that phase. So they had to have made a ranged attack that is more than 9 inches from any enemy units and wholly within 18 of a friendly Living City hero. That unit can make a normal move. It cannot run, and a unit cannot benefit from this command ability more than once per phase. Oh boy, howdy. What's that?
Oh my God.
Only 18 is big.
It is. That is a big, big, big range, especially if you've got a general with any kind of decent-ish sized base, right? Which there are plenty of generals that could. Yeah. So obviously, we can incorporate.
Well, hold on. Forget general. This is any of your heroes.
Sure.
That you can trigger this.
You're right.
Of.
I'm sorry. Especially if you have a hero
that
has a bigger base. Yes.
Yeah, it's because you can deep strike a hero and then fire this off of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
In fact, you can deep strike Alariel, shoot her spear, and then summon. because they're both at the end of movement, and you can
Correct.
order it however you wish.
Yep.
She's so good.
I still don't think it's probably worth doing, but it's, I think, the best that Alarielle can do in the game right now, maybe, is in Living City, as opposed to in Sylvaneth.
Sure.
Yeah, because I mean, you drop her, she comes on, she does her, like, she'll throw her spear, right?
It doesn't matter if it hits, just if you attack.
Right. And then where'd she go? I just had her up here.
And then end of movement.
She
you
summons.
move, and
and then,
or not move. You end of movement. You summon.
Yeah, so that's right. You bring her on, you summon. So you bring on like whatever you want. That's silly.
Yeah,
and then you throw your spear, and then you move her at the end of the movement. Her 16 inches, so 3 inches out, flying. Yep. And then you go. You introduce them to your beetle's horns, potentially with bonus attacks from the.
Her base is huge. Dan Caravan. Her base is full pie plate. It's the big.
It is. So technically, it's her base technically doesn't fit in the 6 inches. Because I believe it's a 160 millimeter round, and 150 is your 6 inches.
Which I guess we're using Warcry, right? So her base hangs off the edge of this $130 model with her.
Well, yeah, and so there's like one of the questions that's out right now for clarification is like, can your base hang off the back of the board?
Mm-hmm.
I hope not.
Yeah, I mean, what happens when you use
like the edge of the base at the edge of the table? I don't know why that isn't the solution to both the Warcry question and this one.
Right. Because technically, yes, you're right. She is like 6 1/3 inches. That's what the pie plate base is, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So the question is, can she even actually fit within their thing? Like, it's an FAQ question that needs to be answered. What happens if you try to get her out there? This comes up in a couple different interesting ways. Because it's entirely possible they might answer that, like, no, she's just too big and hence can't fit and can't be summoned. Which, okay, that's fine.
And then all the people that happen to own it were bringing it a little bit off the shelf. Okay.
Yeah. They went to reach for it, and they're like, oh, I guess I don't. Still.
Well, never mind. Get out of here. Get out of here, lady. I mean, that being said, she is quite fast. And so, like, the reality is, what's her move? Isn't she like a 16-inch move?
Flying. Yeah, she's very quick.
Yeah. So like she can just run off the line. Okay, like not literally run, but just like, I don't necessarily need to summon her. She could just move 16 forward, shoot her spear, which has a pretty decent range, and then go 16 again. It's not like 32 inches didn't take her within 3 of an enemy. Where are they set up? Jupiter?
Don't ruin this for us. We want to deep strike her, then move her up.
Yeah, I mean,
to do the thing.
Sure. I want to summon her in the backfield. Don't ruin this, Vince.
Yeah, I mean, well, they'll have to answer the FAQ question. I would point out that if you can use her, it would actually be funny to summon a Tree Lord if you actually had 2 command points, because it has a 12-inch shooting attack and it can shoot as well, and then it could move in.
Tag team champions of Guyran 2019.
Yeah, exactly. Like the only time a Tree Lord's ever been at all interesting.
Yeah.
So, just a funny thing there. But yes, obviously you could do this with Durthu. He can certainly fit on there. Like Durthu could walk in from the hidden paths. He has like a 15-inch shooting attack. And then, he could scoot up and be in there. So just like, there are tons of good options for this, right? Like,
you go down the list of units you can possibly use that have a ranged attack almost as an afterthought.
Right.
And
because you just need to have shot to use this.
It's probably not the greatest, just because, I mean, he's going to sweep a unit of 10 chaff off the table into the trash, but he's probably going to die to counterattack for the most part.
Right.
So you can like load him up with a 2+ save and +1 the wound and all this. But he's not going to be near a Wildwood. He's only got 3 attacks. I don't know. It's probably better in my head than on the table.
Well, no, that's not true. You could still summon a Wildwood, because you could put a Tree Lord agent in there.
Yeah, if you do other stuff, you could summon one. Dry Chill.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Dry Chill is a nice solution. Yeah, it's interesting. There's some Stormcasts that are nice solutions. Like that Drakesworn Templar. Like you could actually throw a bow on him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can have a bow, can't
That dumb Drakesworn Templar can have a bow.
the only person to ever have put a bow on him ever is now. Like, oh, he can technically shoot and then just like gallop up on this dragon.
Yeah. Eat Star Drake. He came in from the hidden paths.
They're sneaky.
Mm-hmm.
Watch out. Obviously, the honorable mention here is also the steam tank, which is super stealthy.
What hidden path was this thing driving through? Just like running over trees and branches. And
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it was hidden paths.
Yeah, there you go.
Regardless, it'll be interesting to see if this FAQ or if this command ability survives the errata. Because I could see them adding a line to this which says you may not move closer to any enemy model.
You can still scoot onto an objective, so I think it would still be good.
Right.
It just obviously hurts its alpha plan.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like you'd have to be much more careful with that. But yes, it would move the offensive capabilities, which seems to be the intent.
Yeah.
So I say all this to say I would not be surprised for us to see an errata to this.
Well, gee, I hope not. I like this interaction. Well, I guess
I do as well. This actually ties me for number 2 city. Like of my favorite cities, like Living City, because of this ability, because of the deep strike, all those interactions. This ties for me with Tempest Eye for my number 2 favorite.
Yeah.
I was looking through some other units. I almost like concussors here as well. They have the breath weapon, and on 6s to hit, they stop people from being able to pile in. And so you use it as just this giant, like, tar pit anvil thing that alphas aside of their army, and they're just like stuck in whatever position they happen to be in.
That's good.
They can live reasonably well. They all have a decent amount of wounds. They're on 3-ups. They have the bonus against shooting. They're healing 1 wound because of the thing.
You could deep strike them. Yeah, I guess it wouldn't work as well, but I was gonna say you could deep strike them with like a castellant as well. And as soon as that castellant comes on, his Griffhound comes on as well. Because when he sets up, he'd set one up with him, and so it'd be a really interesting like flank because you could also make them super hard as well.
Yeah, because you'd give him a 2-up after the castellan could do his thing. I was almost thinking
next turn
on foot, but he's got to be within 3 inches of enemies for his command ability to go off, and ain't no way you can do that.
Well,
because it's a shooting attack. I don't think.
Sure, there's a couple. Obviously, I mentioned already that you could tap this a couple times, right? So like every command point you've got, like you start with 1 on your turn. Maybe you bought 1 for 50. I don't necessarily think you've got the battalion, but I don't know. Maybe the point is that like. Yeah, you could be bringing like 3 different units in there. I would also point out that like just to kind of branch this out. See? Branch. All right. So into the rest of the items and stuff that they have, it should be noted that like their command traits gives you a run and charge ability built in, which is always nice. So you can make your general run and charge. Or you can take like the incredible Iron Oak Artisan, which is +1 to saves and +1 to wound, right? Which is just like bonkers good. But within their magic items, you have stuff like you mentioned the Templar, Tom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the Drakesworn Templar.
Yep.
You can give that guy like, because those Stormcast are just units in your army. They can take magic items and everything. So like you could give him the Spear of the Hunt, where he suddenly increases the rend of one of his weapons by 1 and now fights at the start of the combat phase. Yeah, and so
sure.
Yeah, exactly. If you charge, he becomes like a Gristlegore general, right? So like,
or a Nathwa,
yeah, exactly. Yep. So like, there's just some. I'm fascinated by the idea of like just having a couple command points, and yeah, like just the threat of that, like having that souped Templar and like a souped. I imagine like a Spirit of Durthu or something as the general with Iron Oak, and like a Drakesworn Templar with the Spear of the Hunt, and they're both off board, and just like what your opponent is now thinking about like the just raw power you can bring into his line. Like if you don't set up perfectly, I'm going to have 3-inch charges with these 2 models, and they're gonna do hurt. Right?
They're gonna do terrible things to your models,
and
so
they're both gonna fight before you fight.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because the Templar is going to fight at the start, and then we'll go to normal, and I'll choose, and it'll be my guy.
Or it doesn't have to be about the big heroes either.
Sure.
You could have some little wanderer hero on either side, or something, and then have like a bunch of Iron Drakes or whoever come in from ambush, pincer, and then just like alpha shoot from the board edge, except with good shooting instead of like Reavers or something.
Oh,
Yeah,
sure.
If you've Beast Herd, with like 60 younger raiders on either side, just like fire.
Let's say,
as well as a different option.
Yeah, let's say for example, along that line, hey, whoa, let's just throw out a crazy thought, okay?
Sure.
Like here's a fun thing you could do. Like this just seems fun. So a Luminarch of Heish, yeah.
Yeah.
Or are we drawing lines? I think I'm understanding.
Yeah,
Oh,
we are drawing lines.
It's time to play 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy Battles.
See your line here.
Yeah, you got it. All right, so the Luminarch, now, the way it works, I'm trying to actually flip to it, but this book is organized in a way that makes my head hurt sometimes. The Luminarch, the way its gun works now, is it just shoots a big, giant line. And, assuming you can get enough units into your army, which let's just assume for the moment I can. So I can get three Luminarchs in this list. Okay? Which are not that expensive. I don't need the Battle Mage on top.
Like 200 points?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So what I'm going to do with this line, the Searing Beam of Light is a 30-inch range. It draws a 30-inch lines, right? And you don't use an attack sequence. Instead, you pick up 1 point on the battlefield within range, 30 inches away, that is visible to this model, and draw an imaginary straight line 1 millimeter wide between that point and the closest part of this model's base. Roll a die for each unit that has models passed across by this line. For each roll that is equal to or greater than the Searing Beam of Light value shown on this model's damage table, which, by the way, is 2+ to start, and they're going to be because they just rolled on the battlefields. They're not damaged. That unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. So what I'm going to do is ambush 3 of these bad boys on from the side. You're set up. Like, how many times have you seen people just set up all in a line, right? Just like they just roll up down the line, and you're going to just roll in and just like zip, 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 and just draw 3 little straight lines through through 30 inches of their army, doing basically 3d3 mortal wounds to every unit on their line.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like, every single hero they have on foot just dies instantly. Evaporated by... This is Akira. Like, this is called the Akira strategy, okay? Just like... In come the laser beams. So, there you go.
Sometimes you should cross the streams, I guess.
Indeed.
Apparently.
Yeah, there you go. That was just a funny one for me. Okay. The point is, Living City has lots of potential. That's, I think, what we're getting at.
And,
and we haven't even gotten...
Oh, were you just... Sorry.
No, go ahead. No, if you're leading in.
Spell Lords? Yeah, Cage of Thorns is sick. Okay, it's a 7, but 18-inch caster, visible, have the movement characteristic of target unit. So we're already good. I like it. I would take this spell, but wait, there's more. In addition, until the start of your next hero phase, the first time the unit moves, suffers D6 mortal wounds. And pile-ins are moves, and not everybody knows that. So if you want to be really angle shooty, you can cast it on somebody already in combat and get them. But that's not how we play. Yeah, this is amazing. Having movement characteristic is a spell that I would generally take if I have access to it, like all the time already. And then also, it's going to pendulum you. Great. Or you just don't move, which is actually worse than a D6 mortal wounds because movement's so important in this game. Love it.
I like all their spells. I think their spell lore is pretty great top to bottom. They have like the biggest heal because they actually have a D6 wound heal, which is bonkers, right?
Yeah.
They have exactly like that is so because that hits them on a move, on a charge, or on a pile-in. If they do any of those 3 things, it does the D6 mortal wounds, right? Because it's a move. And then they have the Iron Oak skin, which I actually really love because it's a buff on your unit that gives units attacking it -1 to wound. That is
another inside-out debuff. Yeah.
Yep. It's a and like when you have an anvil that just needs to live on a point, it's going to get smashed by multiple units. So like just debuffing one enemy unit with -1 to wound is not as effective as just saying all comers -1 to wound. So like yeah.
And can we acknowledge that like having a D6 heal sitting on a unit is pretty good?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the cast on a 6.
Yeah, like it's like they wanted this to feel like Sylvaneth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to feel living. Like,
Plus,
right.
you're
you sold
one
me.
well. So it's like it becomes your hero phase. You heal 1, and then yeah, I'll take an extra D6, please. I like it.
Yeah, because they said they didn't want to stop people from having a Tree Lord Ancient and not being able for it to self heal all the way up every turn.
Right. To preserve that fun.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Like, I know we said Alariel, it's hard to get her healed back up because her healing isn't quite up to par anymore. Well, here you go. Look, she's got 3 spells. What the heck else is she going to do? Okay. Like, it's fine. She can heal herself now. All right. Yeah, I mean, I think Living City has so much interesting potential because of those 2 abilities in conjunction, or not, by the way. The key is, like, we've been talking about the strike and then melt away in combo with the sort of Hunters of the Hidden Paths, but it's just unbelievably powerful, period. Right? Like, even later in the game.
Yeah, like, it's so silly. Like, it is, like, truly silly. Because, like, you can deep strike Shadow Warriors and just move them onto a point.
Shadow Warriors are low-key good. I like them.
Yeah. Like, you pop them out, and then you just, like, shoot your bows, and then move them onto the objective. Even if there's an enemy humping that objective, they can still get a bunch of models on 25 mil bases 3 inches from the enemy.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, or like you could do it with other things too. Here's a hint. Like I could see a combo. You know how you talked about, Vince, about having threat and being able to like pop things off, from off table on the board and then charge.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were talking about the example of the Templar with a bow and all that. As neat as that is, for your second Stormcast in your army, because what I'll say is this: having built a bunch of lists of these armies, the 1 in 4 means on average you're going to get 2 units of one of the specialty things.
Yeah.
Like you're going to get 2 units. One of those is going to be your Templar, right? We talked about that. For your Stormcast, the other one you could grab feasibly is a is it the Heraldor? No, the Vexillor. So that at any point in time you can just pick him up and redeploy him anywhere on the board.
Sure.
And then shoot his bow.
And then do it
again. And action point him in.
Yeah.
We have a rules question from the chat.
Okay.
Deadly Terrain says if a unit finishes its move within 1 inch, roll a die. Does pile-in count? It does not. And I'm going to tie this into Cities of Sigmar, which is why this is relevant. Deadly says finishes a normal move. And normal moves are defined as happening during the movement phase, and pile-in doesn't. Pile-in is a move, counts as a move, but it's not a normal move. And the way this is relevant to Cities of Sigmar is there's a lot of abilities in this book, generally on free guild guys, that give you some bonus if you haven't moved. Eternal Guard have them. A lot of the command abilities, most of the shooters of free guild tend to like be good if they haven't moved. So like specifically with Eternal Guard, if you pile them in, you don't get that bonus because that's a move. It doesn't say normal move.
Right.
And that's probably going to be asked a lot as people play the book originally, or early on, I should say.
Yep.
And so that's the distinction.
But setups aren't moves. That's another thing.
A setup is not a move.
That's all 30 of your Iron Drakes can just blaze away, literally blaze away, because that's the name of the rule, after they ambush in with Living City.
Yes.
Yep.
Or get bridged, or get
that's
blah,
good.
blah, 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 blah. Yep. Exactly. All right. Get bridged.
Let's talk about Living City. Oh, hold on. So Living City, let's just mention, by the way, that the battalion's pretty worthless.
It is. Yes.
Oh, it's
Viridian Pathfinders, so the Nomad Prince is fantastic. I love him to death. But the Wildwood Rangers are just they're okay, but 3 units of them.
I hate it's locked like that.
I mean, what I'll say is this. I think the battalions in general in this book were a real missed opportunity.
It's the weakest part of the book. It's the weakest part.
Because they could have went to one of 2 other ways, and I was going to be critical about this later. I'll do this now.
Sure.
They could have went one of 2 other ways. They could have either said, 3 units from this list of units for Viridian Pathfinder. So they could have said like Wildwood Rangers, Sisters of the whatever, and yada yada, and just given like 3 of any selection to let you like choose a suite of units. But they didn't. They locked you into a set number of units. The other thing they could have done is to open up all the battalions. Like they could have kept it this hyper locked, opened up all the battalions to all the cities, but then added benefits to some battalions with some cities. Yeah. So instead of using like a rigid structure, they could create an incentive structure to encourage people to play certain battalions with certain armies.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I would have rather the battalions been built around more like almost a force org within the mixed arms group, like what they were functionally doing. And so then you with kind of a suite of different units available. So like, let me make this very real. It could be like the center line, right, or something like that. And so it would be like 2 to 3 units of Free Guild Guard or Wildwood Rangers or blah or blah or blah, or you know what I mean, like all the just could be all
the battle line,
exactly, all like the battle line infantry or whatever. And they could have had like the flanking assault, right? And it could have been 1 unit of Outriders or Pistoliers or Wild Riders or Dark Riders, and so on and so forth. You get what I'm saying here.
Yeah,
and then
I do.
The point is, those would have really nicely seeded into all of the cities, and so you would have actually had this cool crisscross of how they played differently in your force or in your final army.
Yep. I agree with that completely.
So, Tom, you and I have talked a lot in the past about the concept in game design of 45-degree development, right? How linear versus horizontal are you? So, like, horizontal design says, pick anything you want from amongst a bunch of stuff, find the best in breed, and put it all together. So things that are very open. This is an old Magic the Gathering thing, by the way. So, right, like, horizontal design is like, what's an easy horizontal design choice? I'm trying to think of a deck that's good horizontal design, like the classic The Deck from the 90s, where you were just like picking, literally, you were powered by dual lands, and you just had like all the best cards in the game, your power 9 and everything else. That is as horizontal as it gets. That is the 0-degree line, right? Whereas linear design is where by choosing A, the second you say, I'm going to select A, B, you're strongly incentivized to pick B. Once you pick A and B, C is almost a lock. And then from there, you're just literally filling everything. It's a linear build.
Once you start with a Goblin Lackey,
right,
you're probably going to want War Chiefs and Pile Drivers. And then maybe you're going to want Aether Vial and so on. Yeah, kind of.
Exactly.
Each step is not forced, but
highly incentivized.
Highly
think of the 3rd edition feat structures towards Whirlwind Attack.
Sure. Or like any tribal build in Magic.
Well, that one you don't want to take the first step, I think, because the first, like, 3 feet suck. It's like
mobility, dodge.
You're like looking over the horizon, and you're like, I want that, so I have to climb this awful ladder to get there.
Right, and obviously the better thing was to take the improved trip, cyclone trip, whatever nonsense crap was. Anyways, that was the better move. Whatever that was. All I know is you could build people with super long arms and spike chains that can trip everybody in like a 50-mile radius.
They tried to explain what it looks like, couldn't picture it.
Right. At any rate, they went too linear, right? They were too much building on just the city as the central concept.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it's disappointing. But anyways, so we're stuck with a battalion that you'll probably never see on the table.
Right. Yep. All right. Cool. We ready to move on to the next one? Some people are asking what we think about units. We'll hit units as we move through here, because the units will sort of naturally evolve. And then at the end, by the way, we'll do a wrap up of just like, hey, is there any unit you like that we haven't mentioned yet, or something like that? We'll do a couple of unit picks. All right, next city, Graywater Fastness. Oh baby, now we're getting to the places I like. Forget all that nature crap. Industry.
Hard pass.
Bring in the power of industry. I want air choked with just the black clouds of forges. That's what I'm looking for. All right. So, Graywater Fastness armies are from Ghyran, which I hate. I hate that this city is built in Ghyran. Like, I get it. I get that that's part of the story, but I hate that for reasons I'm going to discuss in a moment.
Well, if ever there was a city that aesthetically, if you didn't know anything about anything, you'd be like, oh, towering smokestacks, forges glowing with the heat of magma.
Right.
And you have two realms it could be in, the realm of fire or the realm of life. You guessed it, it's life. What?
You got it. Yeah, exactly. Anyway. Oh, by the way, so what we're really talking about here, by the by, in true ironic fashion, is a city of smoke and fire and magma and forges built in the realm of life by a human engineer from Chimone, inspired by Zinch.
Oh, he was the one inspired by Zinch with the secret plans.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. So this city has a lot of stuff going on. Yes. Chimone. Sorry. Okay. Anyway, rune lore. In your hero phase, one friendly Graywater Fastness rune lord can use a new prayer. If they do so, make a roll. On a 1, it's not answered. On a 2+, because rune lords are the best prayers in the game. They're like the only ones who are all just 2+.
Yeah. I was going to point it out if you didn't.
Yeah.
They're the most pious priests in the entire world, all the realms.
Indeed, they are.
Up.
Yep.
Whenever I would explain that to my opponents and be like, okay, this is on a 2-up, it only fails on a 1, they'd look at me like I had 4 heads.
Right.
And be like, are you sure? And I'm like, no, I am. And you can go check it if you really don't believe me.
Yes.
Good luck.
So they can do the Rune of Unfaltering Aim, which is actually nice because the Rune Lord's basic prayers only work on Dispossessed, and I have a feeling this is like the patch to make its own Rune Lords now work with all the Ironsfeld Arsenal guns.
Yeah, this is how they didn't want them to just be engineer keyword.
Right.
So like, well, what do we do?
Right.
Well, they can pray to the machine gods of AOS.
Exactly. So if this prayer is answered, pick one friendly Ironsweld Arsenal War Machine, which basically, is going to boil down often to your Hellstorm rocket batteries or your Hellblaster volley guns. Within 3 inches of this model, until the start of your next hero phase, add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made with missile weapons by that unit. I should state it can also be steam tanks. Okay.
It's Hellstar Ballistas.
They're not Ironsweld Arsenals. They're not. It's not Graywater Fastness War Machine.
Oh, yeah.
It's that original keyword.
Yeah.
Yep. I think those are the 3 models. Yep.
Yeah.
And then Home of the Great Ironweld Guilds, increase the range characteristic of missile weapons used by friendly Graywater Fastness Ironsweld Arsenal units by 3 inches. That would work on the thing you just mentioned, the Ballisty.
No, it's still Ironweld Arsenal.
No,
Graywater
no, you're right. No, it wouldn't. Yeah, Graywater Fastness, Ironsweld Arsenal.
Still
That
no
one's
fun
both.
allowed
Yep,
on
still
this
just Ironwell Arsenal. Sorry, thank you very much. This does not affect the weapon's minimum range if it has one. In addition, if you are fighting in a pitched battle, you can include 1 additional Ironsweld Arsenal artillery unit, which, my God, how much do we need to gild the lily on that one? Like 4 Hellstorm rocket batteries wasn't enough. No, I've got to have 5. And then finally, command ability, Salvo Fire. You can use this command ability in your shooting phase. If you do so, pick one friendly Graywater Fastness Free Guild Handgunners unit or Graywater Fastness Iron Drakes unit, wholly within 12 of a friendly Graywater Fastness hero. Add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made with missile weapons by that unit until the end of the phase.
And it's handgunners because even they know no one's going to use crossbows anymore.
So, obviously, this is one of the shooty cities.
Yes.
It wants you to make the boom booms. And what I love about this particular... I hate that Salvo Fire only works on those 2 units. I wish it just had, like... I wish it was more open, right? Like, I understand they only wanted, like... They're trying to get at things that are black powder weapons, but there's a lot more black powder weapons that would make sense to grant
Steam
that.
tank.
Yeah, sure. Seems like a good option. Yes.
Rocket batteries.
Sure. But I mean, I know you're already adding 1. Okay. Look, if I want to freaking gild the lily on this, get off me. Let me do it.
5. You got to get it to a 2 somehow, right?
Right. Exactly. So, and yes, you can pray for the steam tanks. I think that was a question. You cannot salvo fire the steam tanks because they're not handgunners or the other thing. it does increase the range characteristic of the steam tank's guns by 3 inches, which is cool for their machine gun, which is a pretty good weapon, but only an 8-inch range. This does push it out to 11, which is better. All right. Yeah, I mean, this one wants to run a bunch of shooting stuff. I mean, that's what it boils down to. I will say I like Graywater enough, but here's the problem. It's if you want to run a shooting army, it's actually the not as good city to run a shooting army from.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's sad.
Yep.
There are things I quite like about this. Just to call it a few things I do quite like about Graywater, though. This is one of my cities, so I'm happy to take this one. The Drill Master command trait. You can reroll hit rolls of 1 for attacks made with missile weapons by friendly Graywater Fastness units, wholly within 12. Pretty good. As we just mentioned, there are several hit bonuses around. This closes the other end of that loop off, right? So, like, you can get a lot of units just basically on 2s rerolling 1s. Like, that is a real potential in this thing. All your rocket batteries, right? You could push them to, like, basically 3s rerolling 1s around this dude without too much work. Just, you know, that kind of thing. So, yeah, there's that. I like the steam piston plate mail's fun. It's +1 to save and +1 to move. I love it because of the modeling opportunities of putting a guy in power armor. You know, it's just like, that's kind of cool. And then the Mastro Vivetti's Magnificent Macroscope. At the start of the first battle round, you get an extra command point, and you get +1 to hit rolls for attacks made with missile weapons by the bearer. Cool thing. And their spells are all okay. They have a decent-ish horde attacker spell. Decent-ish, right?
Reach 5 up.
Yeah, it's a 5-up. Yep, which is not bad. It's, you know, it's fine. They have a good neg 1 to hit from an Ash Cloud, of course, as you would expect. And they have...
You're reading it. You've already read the Living City one, and then you read this one, and you can't help be like, where's my D6 damage out of nowhere?
Right, exactly. I do like, and they also have a fun one that attacks a terrain feature, which I think is pretty fun. They can basically, like, shell a terrain feature with a spell to, like, do damage to everybody in it, and also cause the terrain to be deadly, which is kind of fun. So... it's cool. And the deadly is just, you know, until your next hero phase, so it lasts quite a while. That's cool. They're cool. I think what they suffer from is being the second best shooting thing, because too much of their special abilities are way, way, way too limited in who they apply to. Right? I should also state that the thing we all want to do, which is make Steam Tank's battle line,
yes, the Beast Claw Battalion.
Yeah, isn't even contingent on being in this city.
Right. It's just general.
Right.
It's just your general. So, like, all incentive to run this city is gone, because just like, yep, nope, don't need it. I can't take any of my KO stuff in here, or, you know, KO stuff I would want. And by the way, you might think, well, KO were bad. Yo, dog, KO is going to get a new book in a few months, and if you don't think that's going to be a scary book now that shooting's okay again,
oh yes,
Tempest, like, buy stock now in Tempest Eye, because that KO value is going to be rising, son. Just saying.
One of my notes in Tempest's Eye was, this is okay for KO, but ask me again in 2 months or whenever the book, and I will give you a very different answer, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, Thunderers, they're going to be good, folks.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Too cool not to be good.
And also, we'll finally get the Battle Line Gun Hauler, probably, because we're just handing out Battle Line to all sorts of weird things now. There is no universe where Gun Haulers don't become Battle Line in that book. It's just impossible. Okay?
No, it's true. It's true. And, like, I think we could get our ship captains as well. You know how I talked about having, with the steam tank captains? Like, I think that was the step. That was the permission.
Yeah, now we could have, like, the frigate hero or whatever. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm so happy with the steam captain. I love that. Now he can finally be the meme, except in Age of Sigmar.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
I would point out that, ironically, this city, which I consider to be, like, okay at best, but still in the fat middle. It's still good. It's not a bad city by any stretch.
Right,
Like, if you love the idea of taking a bunch of Hellstorms and bombing your opponents into submission now that they can't pick off your crew anymore, which we should
Yeah.
state, like, thank you, such a good change. Yay, we're all happy. Crew can't be picked off anymore. Hellstorms are good again. Let us all celebrate the age of shooting missiles at people. They do have, like, pretty much the exact battalion you would want. It's like 1 Cogsmith and 2 to 4 either Hellstorm rocket batteries or Hellblaster volley guns. Yep. Perfect. And it has an awesome ability. In your shooting phase in the first battle round, friendly war machines from this battalion can shoot twice if they are within 6 inches of a friendly hero. Yep. Great. Good. Fantastic.
That's exactly what you wanted to do.
Yep.
You want to have a ball of shoot guys and shoot twice.
Exactly. So, like, if you want to be that guy, this city does allow you to take, like, 5 Hellstorm rocket batteries, Rune Lords to bonus them and stand around, a Cogsmith in the middle, so you're rerolling ones. That just lets you reroll ones automatically if the Cogsmith is in the middle of them.
Yeah.
And just fire off 10 rounds of Hellstorm power, basically like hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s, doing at is it neg 1 or neg 2 Ren D3 damage. Like, it is...
In either Pistoliers or tanks for battle line.
Yeah, I mean, it is an artillery barrage. Yeah, neg 2 Ren D3 damage. Like, that is, if anybody played the old, what I think it was one of the Command and Conquer games. Yeah, that's what it was, where, like, I think it was one where you could play, like, America or China or, like, terrorists, basically. and the USA could, like, set strategies, and one of the strategies was just bombardment. That was how it said it when you turned it on, and all your, like, shooting weapons became amazing. So, yes, that's what I hear in my head every time I click to Graywater Fastness, is just bombardment, you know.
I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole on this one, which was probably truly a waste of time, but I'll welcome everyone into it. About, man, if you were taking the battalion and you got all the relevant bonuses from your various stuff and got the prayer, do you want rocket battery or do you want chain gun? And then, like, kind of compared each to each, and it was actually very difficult because of how the chain gun thing works.
Yeah.
Right.
But, the long and short of it is you're talking like 20 damage after saves versus a 4-up with the rockets, and a giant question mark of probabilities for the chain gun one, because on a double it can jam, and you can re-roll any of the 3 dice because you have an engineer.
Right.
So it may or may not jam after that. And if it jams on your first shot, then it can't shoot for the rest of the turn, so it won't get to shoot the second time. But long story short, if you're a gambler and your gun doesn't jam, you're going to shoot like 84 times and do like 31 damage if you're within 12 inches, and like 25-ish damage if you're not. And that 25 damage, you're probably rolling dice and picking stuff out and re-rolling stuff for a good, like, 3 real solid minutes of real time or more.
Sure.
You know, if you like Bone Splitters, consider this one.
I
It's like
say,
rolling a million dice and then, like, a way smaller amount of things happen.
right. Yeah, I'm all about. I agree. By the way, AOS Coach had said in there, Cogsmith plus the Lordinator plus rocket batteries equals making no friends. And yeah, I mean, that's the answer. You've just got like 5 rocket batteries, a Cogsmith, a Rune Lord, and a Lordinator, all there in a pile, right? And like one of your rocket batteries is hitting on 2s, shooting twice. The other ones are hitting on 3s, shooting twice. They're all re-rolling 1s, and you just put, like, it is just unleashing hellfire into them. Just like, well, if you had any big monsters, no, you don't. Like, anything that I can see,
And, like,
those
woe
are
to
definitely dead.
Woe to them who, like, do Living City where they're like, nah, I'm cool.
Yeah, like,
I'll stay off board.
right. All your fast chaff units are dead, top of 1. All your big monsters are dead, top of 1. Like, that's the end of that. Like, Keeper of Secrets, the Graywater Fastness does not fear a Keeper of Secrets. That lady is gone. She ceases existing top of the turn. Like,
My
bye-bye.
calculations were a 4-up save, and what is theirs worse than that? Is it a 5-up?
It's just,
No, I think
Keepers are just a standard 4-up with no after save yet. So, I mean, like, they're on 6s.
you'll kill two keepers very easily on
yes.
average, and possibly 3 if you get lucky.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Yeah, but then, like, 10-day minutes get into your line and cut through half your army.
Yeah. You still got
Almost
another 1,000 points. So you're fine.
But that's not why you're playing. You're playing for that first part, not that second part.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's what happened. That's what you like.
Absolutely. All right. Okay. Anything else you want to say about Graywater?
Pass.
Good. All right, Tom, your turn. Phoenicium. Let's talk about these dumb birds. I'll go through the abilities. All right.
Pass. You don't need
Really?
to.
All right. Well, here we go. Phoenicium, which I think is a city that is destined to drive people insane. This is, if you love the idea of having nothing in your army ever die, if you'd like to leave the game with roughly the same amount of troops as you started, this is the city for you.
Then choose Fire Slayers.
Yes.
And you never want to actually use some of your abilities.
Sure.
This is the army for you.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we'll get into it because I agree with both of those points. Here we go. A Phoenicium city is from Gyran. Cool. Vengeful Revenants add 1 to hit and wound rolls for attacks made with melee weapons by friendly Phoenicium units if any friendly Phoenicium units have been destroyed in the same phase.
Well, that won't happen. Move on.
Yep.
I disagree. You're just thinking about it wrong. But anyway, we'll keep going. Yeah. Okay. Add 1 to the wounds characteristic of all your phoenixes. So that's cool. Your phoenixes have an additional wound. Great. Those guys were they were so easy to kill. They really needed the extra wound. And then your command ability, Living Idols. You can use this command ability at the start of the combat phase. If you do so, pick 1 friendly Phoenicium Hero Flamespire Phoenix or Phoenicium Hero Frostheart Phoenix until the end of that phase. If a friendly Phoenicium model is slain, while it is within 12 inches of that hero, that model can fight before it's removed from play. Effectively, it gives everybody around the Phoenix's death frenzy. Great.
Sure.
Okay. So, obviously the Phoenixes themselves are unbelievable. The Phoenixes and the Phoenix Guard are unbelievably tough, right? Because you've got a decent save. Now we should mention that they did remove the stacking save nonsense, right?
Yeah,
so
you only get +1 from either of them.
Right.
They're base 4s and they'll gain +1. So they'll go to base functionally 3s. The problem here, though, let me point this out.
And they will still have the witness if the anointed is on top, meaning they'll still have a 4-up after save. So there'll be a 3-up, 4-up. Yep.
Right. And they were base 5 previously, so technically you're not losing as much as you think you are.
Correct.
Yeah.
It was kind of tricky to keep casters around them after that initial rush. Often. I do like the change, though, because it means we won't be seeing Frost Phoenixes in Hallowheart with a -18 save.
Sure.
Which might have been even worse.
Sure.
I have a combo here, unless you want to continue talking about something.
Well, I just had one quick thing I want to state.
Sure.
That and then obviously the Phoenix's abilities themselves, if they have the anointed on top, give a reroll wound bubble around themselves.
Right.
And obviously your Phoenix Guard, your main elf dudes, have the Witness to Destiny ability as well, meaning that, they're all going to be 4-up, 4-up. Now, Tom's point, and I should state that, all of these guys are on, 3s and 3s, or I guess the Flaming Talons from the Frost Phoenix are on 4s and 3s, but still, the point being is that, all these guys, if that ability triggers the +1 to hit, +1 to wound thing, it's putting any of this army on 2s. If you're talking about the actual Phoenix units, right? Mm-hmm. Now, I agree, those dudes don't tend to die. However, we don't have to use Phoenix stuff only in this book.
But I don't have to activate against the trash units first. So I'm going to activate against your Aether, your Aether wings as the last unit. So that +1 to hit and damage you never get to see, or +1 to hit and wound you never get to see.
I understand what you're saying. Joe, go ahead with your combo.
Oh, it's not good, but boy, is it funny.
Okay.
Probably other people have thought about this because I read the book late, but I should say Seekers of Vengeance is a pretty cool command trait because it adds 1 to attack characteristics of your weapon if something died, and 3 if 5 models have been slain on the same turn.
Yep.
So this buffs your Phoenix. So it's what are our command abilities? Hit and wound for everything if something died. Pile in an attack if something died. Extra attacks if something died.
Mm-hmm.
But then all your guys are super hard to kill. Well, not really, because anything can have the Phoenicium keyword. What about guys who secretly want to die? What if we play guys who are just begging to die for their master, like Flagellants?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
A fairly cheap unit of 40 for like 280 with 2 attacks a model on awful 5s and 4s with no rend. But, you know, if it charged, it's 4s and 3s. And if a unit was wiped out, it's 3s and 2s. And if they lost 5 guys, it's 4 attacks a model instead. And all the guys they lose get to fight before they die from the command trade. And this is... thematically, it's funny, too, because you have these phoenixes, and then all the people serving them are just complete sacrifices, like 100%. And of course, you're using Flamespire phoenixes to go all in on the sacrificial theme. And so when they die, half the time they come back as well. Well, they pile in an attack, and then half the time they come back. And so you could have like 2 units of 80 flagellants just charging in something. Whoever dies in them when they don't have a save get a whole bunch of attacks before they die. And then your other big blob has like 160 attacks if they lost 5 guys randomly, hitting on 3s and 2s. It's like a preposterous number of attacks from these horrible things. And then they're like buffing your phoenixes too. And everything is a blood warrior, pretty much.
Sure. Tom's pushback still stands, I think.
Oh, yeah. Is it good? Absolutely not. But it is quite hilarious. And I think it would make for a funny theme.
I agree. Now, let me talk about how you use this rule, I think. Here's my trick. You ready? The Lord Arcanum on foot. Okay?
Right. Yep.
What we need is somebody who's going to die in the combat phase that I get to make sure dies first.
Yes.
The Lord Arcanum on foot. I will read you the following rule.
Oh,
right.
Suicide Priest, right?
Suicide Priest, that's right. All right, so Lord Arcanum on foot. Spirit Flasks. Once per battle, at the start of the combat phase, you can say that this model will shatter 1, 2, or 3 Spirit Flasks. If you do so, each unit within 3 inches of this model suffers 1 mortal wound for each Spirit Flask that was shattered. Units within 3 inches of 10 or more models suffer D3 mortal wounds for each Spirit Flask that was shattered instead. Allocate the mortal wounds to this model last of all after allocating them to any other units that are affected. So...
Use like 2 of them for the guarantee.
Exactly. We die together. Boom.
No,
and they blow up. And your whole army goes.
Hour. You do a Lord Arcanum and you do a Lord Arcanum and you do a Knight Incantor. They both pop their flasks because the Incantor gets it, and then the Arcanum keeps the Incantor alive.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. Like prevents the last wound. There you go. Yeah, so they don't have to join each other in death.
Well,
yeah.
No. You only pop 5. You pop 5 flasks, so the Incantor dies and both of them stay alive.
Oh, there you go. Okay, sure. Yep. Yeah.
And then they heal up full. Oh no, is that in the hero or that's in the combat?
You want them to die so that the unit death trigger, but you don't want 2 of them to die because it's for any.
No.
And you want enough of dudes for at least a 5.
Oh, yeah, I guess if he dies and then the last wound is prevented, he's technically considered not dying.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Then you let the Knight Heraldor die. And then if you get the double turn, the Lord Arcanum will heal back up to full if he's near the Phoenixes in the battalion.
Sure.
Right.
So, or you could just not make him not near that because he still got the one dude still has 1 flask left. Okay. And so he just drops his last flask and then you get it 2 turns in a row. Like he's just like, no, boom, I will kill myself. And he takes his last wound off and boom, 2 turns of army wide +1 to hit and wound. There it is. So,
death procs in a can. And then your 2 units of 40 flagellants and frost phoenixes or fire phoenixes do like 100 damage a turn. Not bad.
Yep. And by the way, you don't have to. Somebody asked, like, wouldn't both Arcanums keep both themselves alive because you can put people? They have that ability to prevent the last wound. No, you don't have to do that. You just can do that.
I believe it says can, which is a may.
That is exactly what it says. Yep, that's correct. It says can, which is a may. You're not forced to. That's right. So, yeah.
Phoenicium is definitely the city that at first glance looked like the most boring, even more boring than Hammerhall. And then I started to try to like come up with ridiculous rules interactions that wouldn't make a good army at all, and it became a lot more fun.
Yeah, this is the Johnny City for sure. By the way, Richard Rossman, who asked, what about a sorceress and a one-man under, like an under unit of bleak swords?
Yeah.
No, because it's only in the
is
hero
it
phase.
Correct. That's what I was gonna say. It has to happen in phase. I was gonna answer the question. Yes, you didn't let me get there, Tom. Yes, it only the bonus is only for the phase where it happens. Hence, you have to die in the combat phase. And like the reason the Arcanum or whatever the other dude is who also has the Spirit Flasks, the two of them standing next to each other, the reason that dual death is so good is because it's at the start of the phase, so it happens before anything except go firsters, strike firsters if it's the enemy's turn, and they don't actually need enemies around to do it. It's just like they can just commit suicide if they want. Which is why I love this combo. Like that, when I saw that combo, I was like, oh, I'm in for this city now. They're all high on Phoenix flames, and they're like, yes, take me.
I'm going to go back to my statement. I'll just pass. Like there's like anything I want to do with Phoenix Temple, I will do better in other cities.
I mean, fair enough. I will say I do like a lot of what, just of a lot of the little things going on in here as well. For example, they've got an artifact that's like a pseudo ironclad where it reduces rend of 1 to nothing, which I think is very strong. They have an artifact that's both fly and run and charge, which is good. It's stuff that I like. They have another half move characteristic spell. Doesn't have the D6 mortal wound kicker, but it is still a half move characteristic spell. So there you go.
Yeah, but like
remember armor specifically. Oh, go ahead.
I was just say the reducing like Ren by 1, or you can just take an artifact that increases armor save by 1, which has the same mechanical effect, and like you get that in Hammerhall, or the like run and charge. You can get that in other cities.
Yeah.
I understand.
Also, the +1 armor one is just legit better because Amber Armor is reduce the Ren characters by 1. Is if it's 1, reduce it to dash.
To dash,
if
it's
two,
not.
If it's 2, you just take the 2. So
Sure.
the armor 1 is just straight better.
Absolutely.
Ugh.
I understand why they didn't put the +1 in here, though, given that it is the Phoenix City. But still, in any event, I do think the ability of this army to go like that. Seeker of Vengeance thing, like if a unit of 5 or more dies gaining +3 attacks, that shouldn't be underestimated. That's that could, like, on the right model, that's a hell of a lot of extra attacks. It could be triggering quite often. Because, like, with the right units in this mix, things with 5 models will just die in the combat phase. Like, or, that'll just happen. Right? And
it makes little MSU chop them up units for 10, for 100 points.
Yeah.
Seem okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but what are you putting that on?
Any
we
bruiser
are
hero?
spending a command point, right? So maybe
Like,
MSU isn't the best way.
Who do you want carrying that?
Who do I want carrying this thing?
Carrying the command point or the other
No,
thing?
that command trait, the Seeker of Vengeance. Who carries that?
The Star
Because if you put it on, okay, so
Durfield.
you lose Phoenix.
No, it can't do
You
Durfield.
lose.
Sorry.
You lose Phoenix Guard. You lose Phoenix Guard because they're no longer battle line.
Right.
You have to have an anointed, and that anointed has to be the one that has Seeker of Vengeance with his shitty 1 damage attacks.
Oh, that's right. Because the only way you get the Phoenix Guard as battle line is if you have him as the general. I don't care.
Yep.
I don't care.
Yeah.
There's plenty of decent battle line I can choose. Like this city is not, or this book is not hurt for battle line. Who cares? Okay.
Yeah, but it's all, my problem with the Phoenicium is that it's all at cross purposes. Like it feels like it's trying to stretch you in a bunch of different ways that are not, like, it's incentivizing you to do a bunch of opposite things. It's like, hey, Phoenicium, this is the Phoenix Temple, except it's not, because if you do that, you shouldn't choose an anointed as your general. And likewise, you don't want your guys to die, but you do want your guys to die. So we're going to give you all these abilities to not let people die, but if they do die, you're going to get bonuses.
Yeah, I don't see it that way. I mean, I get it. I get what you're saying. My answer is, honestly, it's just allowing you to do both. Like, the reality is, in a game, your stuff will die. And also the reality is, in a game, you want as little of your stuff to die. What this gives you is the ability to actually Build 2 forces of your army to those specific purposes. I don't think that's actually bad. I think you're construing it too narrowly. I really do.
I think you have to choose one avenue. It's like either I really want my stuff to die, or I really want my stuff to live. And if you really want your stuff to live, you get like random minor bonuses sometimes. And if you really want your stuff to die, then all your stuff dies, and it's kind of silly and maybe not the right way to go. But yeah, you know, unless you're doing really interesting, you know, combo-y stuff with Phoenicium that ends up being more interesting than it is good, you know, it's clearly not like the greatest city, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, what I'd say is this: like when I look at Phoenicia, like I'm like, okay, I want units that don't die. I like looking at the numbers. I think I'd rather go living city most of the time. Like everything's healing. I have a healing spell. I can make one of my generals a wizard. Like I can ambush now with phoenixes. Like you can do a bunch of interesting things. You can actually like deep strike with blocks of Phoenix Guard, which becomes really flippin' scary because they're normally low movement, high defense, and suddenly you can threaten points with these guys. Like I don't know. I look at Phoenicium and I'm just uncompelled by what they have.
Fine enough. I think Phoenicium's actually is a good foundation for a counter to a lot of stuff that's in the meta right now that's quite powerful. That 50-50 army I talked about is actually like, and especially their command ability is a really powerful counter to stuff like Slaanesh and to stuff like Skaven with Death Frenzy. Yeah, go ahead, take your Plague Monks into my Greatswords or my whatever, okay? And you're gonna kill a bunch of my stuff, and then I'm gonna kill a bunch of you. And who cares that you have Death Frenzy on you? Like, it's irrelevant. We're just going to trade and explode units. And like, I will definitely chop down all your 6-up save rats. Okay, and like if you don't like greatswords, is my example because they're too expensive. You can add other things here. And by the way, being backed up by like Phoenix Guard, who can then easily go on 2s and 2s and are darn hard to kill, is also a great counter to stuff like Slaanesh. I'm not putting a Keeper of Secrets into a bunch of Phoenix Guard. She's gonna lose that fight. Okay, like they're an excellent counter to her. And by the way, the concept that there's even like the concept that there's a Phoenix then sitting behind them, activating that command ability makes it even worse because now she's definitely dead. Like,
yeah, I hear that. I just see all this and I was like, I would rather have always strikes first in Living City on a Phoenix or something like.
Yeah, I mean, that's not going to win you anything against the stuff I just talked about. Enjoy your always strikes first. Death Frenzy still wipes that unit right off the table if you go into it hard, right? And Keepers still push you back to normal things and then splat you off the table if that's what they were going to do anyways, right?
Right.
Like you didn't counter anything in the strong meta right now with that move. What I'm suggesting is Phoenicium's actually a strong counter current meta play, regardless of its perhaps objective strength against everything.
Yeah, I don't know. I would have to see some builds to see it work, but I think that there are other better, stronger counters in the cities than Phoenicium.
Fair enough. Well, that's probably true just because the massive shooting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Like,
right.
Sure. But, like, not everybody wants to run shooting armies. Some people like actually having choppy people. Just saying. All right. So, now it's time. It's time we got there. We got to our first outlier. Is it the good outlier or the bad outlier? Oh, it's the bad one. All right, Anvilgard. So, okay, Anvilgard. Here we go. It's from Akshi. Illicit dealings. We all saw it. It was like the first one they revealed. So, you get to choose one of these things. You either get an additional artifact, you get an addition. It is. You get an additional Drakeblood Curse, or you get D3 extra command points. I will just point out now that there is a command trait called Black Fang Crime Lord. Blah, 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 blah. That is a lot of weird consonants to say together. Where you get 2 benefits of this, but they must be different. So, like, you could have the extra artifact and the D3 command points because, shut up, that's what you're taking. You're not taking the extra Drakeblood. All right. Drakeblood curses themselves go on dragons, charybdises, and warhydras. You get 1 automatically. You get an additional 1 if you picked that thing I just mentioned, and you get an additional 1 from every battalion you take. And
but you can't choose the same one twice.
Absolutely, something you see both in this book and Oryx.
Luckily, that doesn't matter because none of them are good.
Disagree. It ruined one of my strats that I couldn't take the same one twice. I was so excited I actually had a strat for the city, and they ruined it because I was gonna go Suicide Hydra. Okay.
Yeah, for acidic blood.
Just
Yeah.
tons of them out there with acidic blood, just throwing them forward to die as my just bully chaff units that would explode on the people that killed them. But no, I can't do that. And it would have been my battle line pay too, right? Actually, pretty cheap battle line at 170 a piece or whatever.
Battle line water balloons filled with acid.
Correct. That's what my plan was.
Great.
Yes.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, you can't do that.
Where he was going to do 17 of them. Or, I'm sorry, he's going to do 10 of them, and then a dragon dreadlord.
Yeah, I don't see any problem with this. Where's the issue? All right, and then command ability. You can use this command ability at the start of the battle shock phase. If you do so, pick one friendly Anvilgard unit wholly within 12 inches of a friendly Anvilgard hero. One model in that unit is slain, and then you don't take battle shock tests for friendly Anvilgard units wholly within 18 of that unit. So it is an interesting leap ability. It's basically a modification of the old Darkling Coven's ability.
This command ability makes me furious. I hate it.
Okay.
I don't just think it's not good, although I do think it's not good. I actively hate it.
Okay. Why so?
This is a command ability that doesn't know that there are default command abilities and that they do basically the same thing.
Well, it is a bubble of battle shock
An entire
community.
city.
Like, it does affect multiple units.
Makes all your guys immune to battle shock if they're on one side of the table for free, just all the time, right? This is your city-defining ability. Is your chaff doesn't run away? Okay.
Uh-huh.
Chaff usually doesn't run away. It's usually killed outright for the most part.
Yep.
Like, how many of your guys are in combat at the same time and all about to run away so that this is worth it? As a command trait, I wouldn't take it. Yet it's the command ability for the whole city.
Sure.
It's so disappointing.
I understand. I don't disagree.
And it robs the city of any like interesting flavor it could have had, because usually the command abilities are the main driving forces for what makes the play style of each of the cities interesting in some way. And this one is the default one, basically, except slightly better, even though something has to die. Good thing it has it needed a downside, I guess. I don't know. Like, yeah, I'm really disappointed in that. And then everything else just kind of it doesn't lift my spirits. I like an additional artifact because their artifacts are good. I like hitting like an extra D3 command points. That's cool. The Drakeblood curses aren't very good. They have one spell that's insane, and everything else in here is disappointing.
Yeah, the closest to like just talking about like ideas with this army, here's the best things I can come up with. Let's try to make something out of this, okay?
Sure.
Like, we just got handed some day-old bread and some like generic supermarket aisle salami and maybe some mustard of questionable origin, and we got to try to make a good sandwich here, okay? All right. So, here's my best shot. Here's some interesting fun things I thought of. The Free Guild General on Griffin, or sorry, not the Free Guild General on Griffin. I'm sorry. The Black Dragon guy, whatever his name is, the Lord on Black Dragon.
Yep.
He has a shield just like the Free Guild General on Griffin. That's just a straight +1 to save. Okay. So I thought it'd be fun to give his dragon the acidic blood, and give him the smoldering helm since they're from Akshi, and make him like the mortal wound roulette bully, where he just like runs forward and like if he saves, you take mortal wounds. If the wounds land, you take mortal wounds. It's just fun all over the place, right? So he's just a little exploding punch pie that causes a lot of mortal wounds back.
Are Star Drakes technically dragons?
That's a great question.
You know, they're just Star Drake. I'll look that up while you keep talking.
Yeah, sure. The other thing that I thought would be fun is obviously the spell you referenced is Vitriolic Spray, right? And Vitriolic Spray has a casting value of 8. Oof. But that being said, we know that like, look, sorceresses can get +2 to cast without any real lift here, so it's not the biggest deal in the world. If successfully cast, pick one enemy unit within 6 inches Good God.
Yeah, I mean, spell portal was made for that though.
Yeah,
Sure.
spell portal anywhere on the board because it's empowered. Yeah, you can
Exactly.
trash
Yep.
units.
Of the caster that is visible to them until the start of your next hero phase, that unit has a save characteristic of just of.
So Star Drakes are Star Drakes monsters. They're not dragons, and Drakesworn Templar aren't dragons either.
Nope. That is just a shame. That is just a shame. Shame that Forge World scroll isn't still around. The Carmine Lady Elspeth and Carmine Dragon or whatever. Because that was always an Order Dragon. That'd be fun. But yes, I mean, you portal it over. Like, obviously, you would need 2 wizards in Anvilgard since you don't really have much in the way of double casters. But you have one summon a portal, and then you have a sorceress power through. And then, whatever your unit is, whatever your offensive unit, you portal and vitriolic spray the unit that you're about to go hit later that turn. And then, bam, they're... I mean, that's, like, pretty brutal, obviously. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, removing a unit save is in the world of things to do in this game.
Yes.
Brutal.
Yeah.
No,
also, I'm pretty sure there was an FAQ question about it, but I would need to double check. Specifically with Sorceress on Black Dragon's Bladewind spell, if the unit doesn't have a save characteristic, the spell doesn't do anything.
Interesting. I was just flipping to her to look it up because I was trying to remember what that interaction was as well.
You're trying to roll over the save characteristic, I believe.
Yeah, and it doesn't have. It's like a dividing by 0. It doesn't have one. It's not.
So for each roll that is lower than the unit save characteristic, yeah. And since it doesn't have one, how does that interact? Yeah. Well, if it didn't get FAQ'd previously, it obviously needs one. So there you go.
Yeah. Which would have been a cool combo and a reason to ever take Sorceress on Black Dragon, of which there is none and was none before.
And still is none.
Yeah, I wish they would have gotten an updated scroll, like a lot of other people did, because her breath weapon is still bad and her spell is still worse than the foot heroes.
It's and she's on a 5-up save. Like,
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, 5-up save on a dragon. All right.
Yep.
Oh, the fact was that a dash counts as a 7, in which case it would do all the damage.
There you go.
Right.
Does she? What I was trying to think was, I was trying to remember. I guess the one nice thing about her is like her command abilities, not terrible. Like she can make a unit run and shoot or run and charge. So she can make a unit run and shoot and charge, which is like in the world of command abilities, not bad.
No,
running and shooting and charging is generally being able to do all of that together is pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that caught my attention, and this is a silly combo, this is not a power combo, is taking like the relic, the Venom Fang blade,
Okay.
and putting it on.
Do you want to talk about what that is real quick? It's the
on 6s to wound, you do an additional D3 mortal wounds in addition to your normal damage.
Right.
Yeah. Dagger of Japan.
It's the Dagger of Japan. But you put it on the assassin.
Sure.
Who already has that ability because he's already carting around Venom Flame Blades.
So every 6 to wound is like 2d3 mortals. Then he's building himself up to a full-on Sword of Judgment, basically. But
right.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be heroes,
right,
or monsters, and it's not realm dependent because this is Akshi.
Right.
And I actually like the assassins. Like we haven't talked about this basically at all, but like you don't choose what unit they pop out of.
Yeah, it's the same with the Skaven assassins.
Yeah,
it's just no one ever sees those because no one runs any Slaanesh units because that's the nature of Skaven. But yes, Skaven assassins work exactly the same.
Right. But it's like they're where you want to be.
Right. They just have to pop out a one wound units of one wound units with 5 or more models. Yeah.
Right. But like units of Shadow Warriors and all that stuff could be delivery systems.
Yeah, sure.
Like there are a lot of different ways that you could deliver them. And so I don't know. I like that's fun to me is to do a bunch of mortals. Like pop out and on 6s. I mean, they're throwing 6 dice at it. Obviously, it's not as good as the Sword of Japan. but it looks like it's a lot of fun. That's all I'm saying.
It's no Tenebral Shard, but you can't really play him anymore. So
Right.
Yep.
which I am not surprised by.
Sure.
Although I am sad. It was the most fun ever to roll a die and just 4 up. Your hero with 10 or fewer wounds is just dead from anywhere, no matter what.
Probably,
Mhm.
unless
Mhm.
the roll doesn't go quite where you wanted. But yes, probably.
Sure,
That's
yeah.
that's the
chance.
outcome. I did have I used one of those. I used a Skaven assassin the last time I played Skaven, and I gave him the Sword of Judgment. He plowed his way through like 4 heroes before someone brought him down. He popped out at the start of combat against like a God, what did he pop out against? Some massive, ridiculous monster. I don't even remember what it was, and just popped him, and then jumped into the back line and just started like doop, 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 just jumping heroes. Okay. Anyway, it was fun, and then he died because he dies very easy. Great. Yeah, I mean, Anvilgard is not that good. I think is what we're saying here. But
And let me just say,
even so, it's not terrible. It's not like it's unplayable or anything. It's just when you look at the book, it's hard to go, yeah, this is the one that really gets me going. Even if you like Dark Elf stuff, there's just better ways to deploy the Dark Elves in this book.
totally agree. What I would say is that, like, I love their battalion, and not because it's good, because it's not, but because it's everything that I would want to put in that battalion.
Oh, the actual Anvilgard battalion?
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, the ability's worthless. It's like +1 to wound against monsters. What?
Right.
But
So who wrote that? Who are you? Who are you? You should issue a public apology for that battalion ability.
just shame.
Shame on you for that. But yes, I agree. This is like, it's a whole sort of army of the kind of things you would want, right? Like the Fleet Master, 3 units of Corsairs, 1 to 3 units of Scourge Runner Chariots, and then a Charybdis if you feel like it.
Yeah,
Why is
like,
that just a Charybdis, by the way? Why not Charybdis or Warhydra? Why?
I don't know.
Why not
Because-
0 to 3?
Because
Sure.
War Hydras are Order Serpentis and Charybdises
Does it
are
matter? It's all
the privateers.
Who cares? It's a melting pot.
yeah,
fine.
it's all
But
Dark
it's
Elf
not.
crap, and this is the Dark
But-
Elf crap city.
And like,
No, but that's the problem. That's the problem, is that these battalions are keyed to sub-factions. Even though they're keyed to cities, they're also keyed to sub-factions. So
I
if you
get
look across,
they
like,
are really
every...
specific.
Not always. Yeah, but yeah, I understand what you're pointing at, but that's not always true.
Well, the only exception would be the Whitefire. Everything else is shared very near.
Yeah.
Everything else shares very near. They share not only city keywords, but they also share faction keywords. Every single one of them.
No,
What?
false. I would direct you toward Tempest Eye, which has 3 completely separate things going on. There is none of these things are anything like the other.
Well, no, that's not true. Just the Grunstock Grunhall. The other 2 lines of the Tempest Eye one are free guild.
Sure.
They share free
in
guild.
general are not on Griffin is not generally what you think of as being the 2 things associated. But I'll give you they're both free guild. But yes, then you've got gun haulers.
The gun haulers just got kind of thrown in there as an afterthought, but like everything else.
So why not throw in the War Hydra as an afterthought?
Because they're trying to push the allegiance faction thing.
Don't defend this. It's an oversight and it's a crime. The Hydra should be here in this bad battalion, in this bad city. I will go to the mattresses over this. Okay?
Also, the battalion should cost 50 fewer points and actually have no text. It's just white.
Just blank.
It just says what units it can be in, and that's it. There
Right.
not even a heading for abilities.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah.
You're
Yeah.
getting a fact, a command trait.
No.
and,
It should just say, see page XX in the core rules of the benefits of having a battalion. That's what it should say.
It's like a write-in sweepstakes for a new hot topic on Black Dragon War Scroll or something.
Yeah. Yep. All right.
It's just so bad.
Okay. So I think we can stop beating up Anvilgard now. It is, let me say this, flavorfully, it's like one of the coolest cities. Like if you go actually
it's the one I want to make. Like it's
Right.
I love the flavor of it. The rules are just bad.
It's again, yes. Bad, no, not terrible. It's not like if someone shows up with like the Anvilgard version of the army of cities, they automatically lose. It's
No.
not what we want to
No.
say here. So we need to couch that, right?
Because one of the scariest builds in here, like, cheeses the vitriolic spray.
Sure.
And then uses that with range attacks, like mass shooting swarming range attacks,
Yeah.
like hurricane crossbows and stuff like that,
Sure.
to wipe people off the board.
Yep.
And just like shoot their target and like maybe pop the hurricane crossbows around with a Lord Aqualore and then just like snipe whatever off you want whenever you want it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, yes, you think about like, the Stormcast hurricane crossbows, they're just masses of shots with no rend. Anything that's just masses of shots with no rend. Right. And what suddenly happens when you remove someone's armor save? It's like, oh, well, they're all dead then.
Yeah. Also works on ethereal. It's not a penalty or a bonus.
Yes.
It changes it to.
Yep.
It has this.
They're still immune to rend.
Yeah.
They're
quite immune to rend.
Mm-hmm. Those ghosts are also quite dead.
Yeah.
When suddenly like all those hurricane crossbows just. They all as you phase them into the mortal realm with acid. Sure. Why not? Okay. Are we ready to have this discussion, gentlemen?
Well, from the lowest lows to the highest highs.
Absolutely. Now we get to the other side. Hallowheart.
Break on through to the other side, my friends.
All right. So now we get to our powerful outlier and current candidate for most important FAQ to be answered, current candidate for Gristlegore of this book, depending on how that FAQ gets answered. Here we go. All right, Hallowheart army is from Akshi. Cool enough. Eldritch Attunement. Each time a friendly Hallowheart unit is affected by a spell or endless spell, you can roll a die. If you do so on a 5+, ignore the effects of that spell or endless spell on that unit. Very, very powerful. Go ahead.
Do you know why that's so important?
Okay.
Why this is, what is significant about the wording here?
Go ahead.
They changed the Hallowed Knights wording, which was almost identical by the addition of 2 words.
You can roll a dice.
You can is the addition. Because with Hallowed Knights, it just says roll a dice. And so you become you have no choice but to attempt to resist spells, even if they are buffs.
Yeah, and there was commentary about it, and we asked, "Is that really the case?" And they're like, "Oh yes, it's." Really
yeah. And so you have to roll resistance, which took Hallowed Knights off of my playlist. But here you can choose to roll it, and if you choose to roll it,
Yep. So
there
right
may
away,
be friendly fire.
Exactly.
Right.
So great ability. We all like that, right? We're all in agreement. That's good. Nothing broken about that. Seems fine.
Ward saves are good.
Yeah.
Yep. Spell immunities are good. I know that my Mega Boss on Maw Crusher will be a Weirden all the time, every time, 10 times, because 4-up immune ignore to spell is good. So here we go. Mages of the Whitefire Court. Hallowheart wizards can attempt to cast 1 extra spell in each of their hero phases. So every wizard you have is a double caster. All right.
90 points. 90-point double caster.
Your 90-point battle mages and sorceresses, your crappy Lord Exorcists that are underwhelming but now suddenly became double casters at 120 and actually have decent abilities now.
Lord
Arcanums at 60.
Yep. Hey, you know what Arcanums are good with? Endless spells. I'm sure that won't come up.
Nah, that's probably not going to matter. Well, that's fine. They're all double casters, but I mean, where are they going to get the spells? I mean, they're just not going to have enough spells for everybody to be casting all these different spells, right? I mean, because I don't always play in the realms, I hear you say, imaginary person. Well, in addition, I should state that there are 6 spells in this spell lore instead of the 3 we've been dealing with previously. Yeah. And in addition, every Hallowheart wizard gets to pick 2 of them for just some reason. Just
they're
some
good
reason.
Wizards. They're good wizards.
I didn't notice that I didn't notice that giant turkey taking 2 spells off of his list or whatever. Okay, fine.
Well, other than knowing all the spells in their army.
Sure.
Or no, do they get to do that? No, Kairos gets to do that.
Yeah.
Kairos Fate Weaver can do that.
Yeah.
Or blue scribe things or whatever. But yes, my point is there are lots of things that are good wizards that don't just get to pick multiple spells off their list. Not a bunch of just human dum-dums running around, like, who happen to spend some time at uni. All right, so, command ability. And now, and then, my friend, he died, man.
All right, we're good. If they're like, this is awesome.
Right, already, you're like, this is amazing. Stop here.
If you stop here, you're better than Anvilgard.
Right.
And possibly a few other cities.
Like, realistically, all of this stuff, you can't see what I'm pointing at, but I'm pointing at, like, the command traits and the artifacts. Those could just be blank, and we would already be better than Anvilgard, right?
Battalion. It just...
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
but no, let's keep going. So you hear those kind of rules, and you're like, well, the command ability is probably pretty garbo then, right? Because that's generally how they balance this stuff out.
Probably like Battle Shock Immunity in 16 or something.
Yeah, some kind of crap, right? All right. Here we go. You can use this command ability at the start of your hero phase. If you do so, pick one friendly Hallowheart wizard hero and roll a die. That wizard suffers a number of mortal wounds equal to that roll. Period. In addition, until the start of your next hero phase, add that roll to casting rolls made by other friendly Hallowheart wizards while they are within 12 inches of that wizard. I would point out that for some reason, by the by, this got the tag of within, not wholly within. So, like, if you have a giant spellcaster on a monster base, he can be hanging out, putting a little toe in there. He can just be toeing into that 12-inch bubble, still snag that bonus. Now,
15 Sisters of the Thorn with 1 millimeter of one of the bases on it.
Sure. Now, let's. I want to get through the controversy and the clarification real quick here. Okay? So, because then we can all talk.
Yeah.
All right. First, a quick clarification. There is an important word here that a lot of people have read over, which is made by other friendly Hallowheart wizards. The person who rolled this die and took the theoretical wounds does not actually get the bonus.
Or didn't take the wounds.
Yeah. Secondly, I say took the theoretical wounds because, unfortunately, as this is written right now, the bonus you get is simply equal to whatever you rolled. It doesn't matter how many wounds you actually take. Now, in my very humble opinion, this needs to be FAQ'd and they need to just put out new text for it. Because the reality is your general could easily have a retinue around him and so have a 4-up because he could be a 6 wound or less dude. You could just have a battle mage or whatever, something like that. And so you could have a retinue around him, meaning that he can pass off a 4-up. And he could have Ignax's Scales, meaning he negates 75% of the mortal wounds he takes. Yep. Meaning that you could roll a 6 and on a bad roll kind of take 2. But then all the other 5 casters in range around you are all now +6 to cast. If you happen to have the battalion, which let's just spoil that right now, the Whitefire Retinue, 3 to 6 Hallowheart hero wizards, then you all get another +1 to casting and unbinding while you're near each other.
Hallowheart hero wizards. Let that sink in.
Yeah.
So any subfaction, including Stormcast Eternals.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. So they can all get another +1. Now we could be... So realistically, right now, our range is 2 to 7.
Good. We finally made him a good wizard. He gets +6 to cast here.
Yeah. Your range that you're bonusing these other 5 casters. 5 other casters just gained +2 to +7 to cast. Okay? If any of those casters are 90-point sorceresses, they can start stabbing, Blackguard or like Dread Spears or something. Just they're often dudes. Now we're at +4 to +9. So we could have like that. That's all going on here. That's in the
or if you're not the murderous type, you just throw her Arcanum into the mix. That gives +1 to cast for all your battle mages.
Yep. So
instead of having to sacrifice models, you can just be at a mere +3 to +8 and not have to kill any of your own guys.
You'll notice the lower end of that bonus of +3 is Nagash's starting bonus that made him an unbeatable caster. So you start, your entry point in here for your 5 wizards and your 10
a
spells.
1 on that D6. Like, oh man, I guess I automatically cast every spell in my spell book on Snake Eyes.
Your starting point,
How
your
lucky.
worst roll possible is Nagash. 5 Nagashes. Your top roll is you can break 20 when you cast a spell.
Right. Yeah. Zinch, I'm not afraid of your unbinds.
Like if you don't have, you better, the only thing that stops this real quick, just to finish this out and then let's discuss, is obviously like the corn skulls, because those can blow people up if you roll an 8.
Encounter.
Yep, the encounter can auto shut down. The 2, you can burn 2 blood tithe to auto shut down, right? Like there's a set of things that can still handle this. It's not unbeatable, but for the most part, you are now free casting. Like when this goes off, you more or less hit free cast mode. Right? Where you are uncounterable.
Right.
And there we go. By the way, the FAQ should be that we should stop setting it to the die roll and set it to the actual wound suffered. So if you're going to keep this at all, which by the way, it should be also retconned to a D3, just let me point that out, and it should be sunk to the die roll. It's insane as a D6. Nutso. Gentlemen, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is that it's still a pretty wicked penalty because it's not the caster, it's a command point and it's wounds if you do that. For a fluctuating bonus that you could get passively. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like hear what you're...
It's not. The stupid chicken has a +1 as his command ability. That giant magic turkey, his command ability is +1 to cast.
Right, with no damage, and he still gets his own bonus.
Yeah, I get it. I'm just saying that's a +1. You have the potential of no damage here in a quite realistic fashion.
But you're proposing a change such that like you have to take the damage in order to get the bonus. And what
you're saying is, post my FAQ.
Yeah, post your FAQ. I don't know. Like if you do a D3 like that, I like it quickly loses it becomes highly situational at best. Like if you really have to push something through to beat like a heavy like counter magic bonus like with magic army.
Sure.
I think +1 to 3 to cast on 2 to 4 wizards that are all double casters is
bonkers good.
Way.
Yeah.
Probably too good even that, but maybe I'm really conservative about that stuff.
I think I would call it bonkers good. Because
I feel like the same way as with Rat Trap, it's just like should be rewritten but definitely won't be.
Yeah, like my pushback is that I think this is going to have secondary effects on like the shape of the battlefield for this army. Because if all of your wizards are in that little bundle, then they're not taking objectives, or there's going to be certain missions where they're really going to struggle.
I mean, it's a 12-inch bubble around one dude.
It's also a pretty small amount of points. Right. Taking like 3 or 4 90-point guys, and you have the rest of your army to do whatever.
Well, but if you are only doing 3 or 4,
you have to like protect them, right? So maybe you want Stormcast Protectors in a circle, so now there's another -1 to hit around them or something. That's a lot of points. Or you're like chaffing them up and stuff. That's points.
Yep.
What you're getting at is true. Like on paper, this is absurd, and in game, I think it still is.
I think it's strong.
But I think it's strong. Actually, building a list, like okay, how much defense for this stupid combo do I have? How many endless spells? Like how crazy do you go with endless spells? Do you just go conservative and be like, okay, Umbral Spell Portal, the bridge, and then like we're good? Or Balewind plus all the big walls to make your opponent want to actually quit the game because he can't move ever?
No, I mean, I think that's just it. You go nuts. The answer is you go nuts. You go nuts. Because that's the obvious build of this. You go Comet and Palisades and Gravetide and every other stupid giant board gunker upper. You drop a Comet, then you Palisade them and wall them in through a host of endless spells that are all empowered, and you throw it out there, and it's like, well, you can move out of the range of that Comet slowly because I've blocked off most of your avenues of exit. Like, I hope you flew, or you're just stuck.
You just can't move.
Well, pretty much. Yeah, let me say that like that's where I went to first when I began to build. But like my most recent iteration of my Hallowheart list has 3 wizards, 3-foot wizards in the battalion. So it runs a min battalion.
Yeah, I
Not
ended up on my list as well.
Yeah, like, and I backed heavily off of I backed like 100 points off of my 300 plus point endless spell, like retinue. Just simply because, like, I think the gut reaction is to go that, but you give up too much in order to do that.
At the end of the day, you still have to somehow win the game, like
Right,
do
right.
stuff. That's
Oh,
that ended up being my problem when I was building the lists with it.
I understand. I mean, but what I'll say as a counterpoint is we've seen several armies recently at top tables in tournaments that are endless spell spammers. Okay.
Right.
This has
Yeah.
been a thing, and they've
now.
been competing for top spots at tournaments. And this does it way better than any of those existing lists.
It does it way better and way cheaper. Yeah, it's true.
So
It has
if it's a concept that has gas, which history seems to say yes, it does, but it wasn't quite good enough, well, then making it better and cheaper and more determined and making it so you basically can't fail to cast all your spells. Just saying.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. Gary Percival noted that he said that he hears that the endless spell spam walls is in GW's radar, and potentially one possible change that's been being bounced around in various circles is limiting endless spells to one per turn.
Yeah, because wall spam is just like so clearly a negative play experience, top to bottom.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, it's so clearly something that if it really actually became something people were doing, it's like, okay, it's like the dredge version of AOS,
Yeah.
where your graveyard is your hand and you want to mill yourself and you want your creatures to die and dogs and cats live together.
Right. And the key here is you can take a bunch of endlesses that don't risk much on you, right? Because you can have Palisade, you can have Gravetide. Like, who cares if the Gravetide turns around on you? It's just a big, giant, annoying thing in the way that doesn't move very fast, but you can throw it out there.
For all your guys as well.
Right. You know, yeah, like you can throw out the big sweepy scythe thing, whatever the heck that dumb thing's name is, because it only goes one direction. It's not coming back at you. You know, just like there's plenty of nonsense. You can Geminids like there's no tomorrow, right?
Pendulum is the worst rule they have ever in all of AOS. After roll a d6 when you can't decide on the rules, that's the worst rule. Second worst one is the pendulum. What does a pendulum do? It goes to and it goes fro.
I understand that. The trick is to understand why they ruled it that way. You have to look at the art.
Yeah.
The art for it.
Yeah. The
it's just scooting. Yeah.
The pendulum in the art is like beyond massive. Okay.
Yeah.
Like you see a person standing next to it, and it's like the size of my pinky nail compared to the size of my forearm. Okay, like that's the size of the pendulum in the world, and so like
scythe then or sweeping doom something.
Yeah, it's not going back and forth. It's meant to be like literally one scythe slowly swinging through the battlefield on. Picture the arc up in the middle of the sky, right? Like it doesn't ever go backwards. That was what was in their head when they wrote it, but then the model's like a dinky little thing.
Yeah, and to be clear, what Gary had said was a rumor that's been floating around.
Sure.
And so by talking about the potential limitation of something like that, like a long time ago, I talked about like when I was doing my Fire Slayer list, doing the 4 endless spell spam walls in my Fire Slayer list. So I mean, like this whole idea of like spamming with endless spells has been up for a while, and people like it's going to have to get fixed. Who knows how? Maybe they add a keyword. And say that only like you can only cast one, or how about do something like this? You can only cast one non-predatory endless spell per turn.
Sure, because predatories just are more fun and do equal wackiness.
Yeah,
right. And that would solve the wall issue, or a lot of the problems with the wall issue. Let me say it that way.
We should also point out that, like, obviously one of the tricks you can do here, because you got 8 million casts, is just dispel your own stuff and recast it. You can comet, dispel it, recast, boom, 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 boom. And, like, they do have a command trait that literally gives you +3 to the roll to dispel, so you can even be pretty sure you knock your own crap out, right? Like, it's
you have to be a wizard, to be clear.
You have to be a wizard.
So you can't be an anointed general with a +3, which is really unfortunate. I may or may not have had a list with that.
So you can like witness to destiny and retinue and Ignax.
Something, all right.
Well, just the idea is that like if you
I'll mention it, Gary. And also Longbeards, because Longbeards can eat up your own endless spells when
Yes,
they're
and
out
then
there. Yes.
Longbeards can also get rid of endless. Yes, which is just delightful. Yeah.
I also want to point out that one of your command traits, Veteran of the Blazing Crusade,
Yep.
is command ability from Anvilgard for free at all times.
Yes, just on blast all the time. Yes.
Now, it has to be your general, obviously, because it's a command trait, but it is sad.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. That's.
Yeah, it's pretty.
I-
It's just dunking on Anvilgard hard. Yes, we
Yeah.
all accept that.
And on top of all of this, the spells from Hallowheart are all like they're just solid. You have a suite of 6. Honorable mention, obviously, to the Gaunt Summoner equivalent or the Vermin Lord. Yes, the Wildfire. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, yes, you're absolutely right. This is a great spell lore. It has the D6 heal of the Living City.
Yeah.
It has a mortal wound arcane bolt that splashes mortal wounds to other units around it. It has elemental cyclone, which is pretty gross, because it's a 4-up horde cleaner that you can shove through the portal, and make that the point of origin, and then it's a 12-inch, just like whoop 4+1 mortal wound. It has ignite weapons, which gives you +1 to wound rolls. Like, yep.
I will say this though, Hollowheart's gotten a big bad rap just in general because of how good everything is.
Yeah, because it's cheating. Because it's just flat too good.
It's Tzeentch 2.0. That's what it is.
Sure, if this is the new standard of what a good magic army looks like, I am afraid of what that Tzeentch book comes out with.
She's just gonna get 30s to its spell casting.
They just cast all Tzeentch, all Lord of Change spells cannot be dispelled. Like this, whatever.
Sure. Instead of
sorry,
unit, they can just cast a spell for free every unit.
right?
What I will say is that like one gem in the glittering hoard that is Hallowheart, that a lot of people haven't really talked about is that how much value this faction, maybe, this allegiance brings to Lord Arcanums.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Yeah,
because like you never or rarely saw a Lord Arcanum on foot previously,
right?
And now in this one like allegiance, it's like it's pounding on all cylinders because they can move, add the extra movement to endless spells. They can get the cast bonuses that they need, the additional cast per turn that they need, and more importantly, or as important maybe, is that their actual like electrid empowered ability or whatever that most people don't pay attention to on a 10+ to cast as a casting roll, your arcane bolt goes to D6s. Like that's a very like, so your arcane bolt from the Lord Arcanum becomes D6's base.
Yeah.
10's very doable.
Yeah, when you're
when you're +9, 10, very doable.
That does seem to be the case on 2d6. Who doesn't love Lord Arcanum's just throwing out blood boils like it's going out of style? Pow, 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 pow! Yeah, it's great.
I mean, so what I would say is, like, more power to them for making their Arcanum worth it.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see how this FAQ shakes out. Now, like.
No, Gary, you don't gain Sequitors as battle lines in cities because it says that if in a Stormcast Eternals army, unfortunately.
Yeah. And no, you can't take Evocators and have them cast more spells because they can only cast the one spell on their worst.
I know that because I looked.
Sure. Also, somebody asked a question a while back that I want to answer just real quick, which was the Phoenix has to have an anointed. Yeah, that's right. To be like good. Yes, in general, that's true. Are War Hydras worth taking? Like in general, the Hydra and the Cryptus are pretty weak. Now, I'll also say they're pretty cheap. There's a couple interesting uses that could be there around for them in a couple armies of like just using them as sort of a monstrous bully in a couple ways where they're just kind of out there. They can do okay damage for their 180 points, but I would say if you want a fun, fluffy army, sure, they can have a role. There are just generally better choices in both the offense or wounds or any kind of category. But I don't hate them. If you like Hydras, they can be part of a fun and still effective list. So anyway, to this, there are very few scrolls in this book, frankly, that I think are just like, nah, I would never take that. That's just almost useless, right?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
It's actually amazing how many of the scrolls in this book hit in the sweet spot of like, yeah, I can see the army where I'd take that. Now, I'll argue the Warhydra and the Cryptus are on the bottom part of that curve for sure.
Yeah.
But they're still not like, look, they're not all of Clan Eshin from Skaven, right? Like, Skaven is the exact opposite of this book. It's an inverse bell curve where, like, over here is everything that's good you're going to always take. There's almost nothing in the middle. And then there's a bunch of junk that never sees the table, right? This is almost the opposite. This is a true bell curve.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, it's like the opposite of IDK as well.
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly. There's really no like
3 units that are insane, and then everything else is actively bad.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, I'm not trying to like ring the klaxon, and I'm sure I'm going to be called a hypocrite in the comments for like, oh, Vince has got a problem with an army. He thinks it's too good, and he's the classic Slaanesh defender. Like speaking my defense of Slaanesh.
Damage control. Yeah.
Go on and tell me how overpowered this is, Mr. Slaanesh.
Sure. Here's what I don't like about it ultimately. If you have a problem with Slaanesh because you feel it makes the combat phase non-interactive, if that is your problem, which I am completely sympathetic to, okay? Because I have had those turns where you do get to fire off, where like every locust lands, and you just watch, and you just sit there and just decimate the enemy's army, and they never get to activate. And I've literally apologized mid-attack in tournaments, where I'm just like, I'm sorry this is happening, right? Because it doesn't feel good for...
Don't be that guy.
It doesn't feel good for anybody. Like, I said I'm going to roll this out. Like, this is going to happen, but I'm sorry it's happening. Like, I don't like this rule either, but here we are. Because it's not a good play experience. Like, I'm going to kill you, but I don't feel great about it. So, there it is. But like, if that's your argument that makes it non-interactive, this does absolutely the same thing to the magic and potentially other phases. So my point is just, if you have a problem with that, you should also have a problem with this. And by the way, I have long said that Slaanesh will be nerfed, and I am great with it. Okay? So there you go. So this should be reined in as well. There you go.
Also, as one maybe final point on Hallowheart, Mages of the Whitefire Court doesn't say Hallowheart heroes, wizards,
right?
Just wizards.
Right.
So you're
the Whitefire retinue, the battalion.
No, the battle trait.
Oh yeah.
Casting an extra spell and
yes.
Gaining the bonus and stuff. They can be units that happen to be wizards.
Sure. Absolutely.
For instance, Sisters of the Thorn. Now you cast 2 spells and you get an extra one from the. You get 2 from the lore, so you have 3 spells now, and you can gain the bonus if one of their hooves is within 12 and all the rest of them aren't.
Right.
It almost works with Evocators, except for that pesky wording on their word that says they can only cast Empower, which is such a shame. Because I would have liked to play with 10 Evocators that cast 3 spells a turn or 2 spells a turn. And at like +5 or something, but whatever.
Interestingly, the way that the famed spell hunter is worded, you get to dispel 2 endless spells per hero phase, because it would be 2 different abilities granting the ability to dispel a hero phase, dispel an endless spell. So that's an interesting.
You're saying if they're okay.
Yeah, like the command trait.
If this general is a wizard, add 3 to the roll when this general attempts to dispel an endless spell.
Yep. If they're not a wizard,
they can attempt to dispel 1 endless spell in your hero phase. Yes.
Yeah, and they have another ability that lets them attempt to dispel 1 endless spell in the hero phase. So they can attempt to dispel 2 endless spells in their hero phase.
If they're not a wizard, you mean?
They're not a wizard. Like
got it. I understand. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, realistically, like, we've been talking about this, like one of your points, Tom, was like, well, this is all my heroes in these casters. It's all my heroes. Well, no, because Sisters of the Thorn are a thing, and they're a 130-point unit. And, like, they also become double casters that benefit from all of these bonuses. So, like, if you hated 100...
They can't be in the battalion, and they don't gain the benefit of the +1 from the battalion or any of the other pluses.
Oh
Right.
no.
They get the D6.
They only get
Yeah.
the D6
Yep.
plus your Huracanum. You know what? You're right.
No, they don't get the Huracanum. They are not. They are not Agent Arcana.
Yeah, keyword.
Yeah, it's keyword specific.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
So only the battle wizards get the Huracanum.
There you go.
Yeah.
I will, however, you could turn those sisters into battle line if you wanted, though I don't know why you would. It doesn't really matter. My point is just like, and they're going to have plenty of spells because they'll still have 2 extra from this. They can still power out endless spells. Depending on what you roll there, they've got plenty of options on the table. You're not limited to just their crappy spell.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. I don't disagree with that at all.
Yeah.
And you can still replace, like, you can choose them, or no, they can't fire off the mortal wounds on themselves, which is too bad. Because you could potentially replace their models with life swarms.
Sure. I mean, you could heal any hero with a life swarm, but yes. Or
well, the City, I want to give Ilario +5 to cast so she can actually use her spells and actually summon Wildwoods.
Sorry,
no, based on her casting roll.
Nope, get out of here. She'll never be a good caster. She gets 3 spells. Be happy with that.
God, and not even having +1 to cast.
Yeah.
My battle mage has better casting than she does.
Yeah.
Look, my battle mage on a Balewind has better casting.
She can cast 1 more spell a turn than any random battle mage who happens to hail from this city. That's
true.
why she's a god.
But those battle mages have spells.
Yeah, but the battle mages can go on Balewinds and she can't, and then they equal her power.
Well, that's all you need. Balewind equals godhood. It doesn't matter. She's a fake god anyway, so who cares? She's always...
Well, with that one scroll, I'm inclined to agree.
All right.
So,
anything we want to say about Hallowheart? I mean, you're going to see people try these lists. This is going to come out in spades, and we will see very quickly what this looks like based on the FAQ and people trying it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
don't fear, like, are you a jerk for playing Hallowheart? No. Don't worry, to be perfectly honest. Like,
absolutely not. Absolutely not.
There are so many fun ways to build Hallowheart that aren't even miserable for your opponent. A lot of people still don't run any wizards at all, so they could not care less what your casting rolls happen to be.
Right.
Yeah.
And your endless spell choices could just be like, you know,
bridge.
Well, bridge to deliver guys. Yeah, I suppose we didn't talk about that, but yes, you can deliver giant units wherever you want, and so you're better than every other city at what they do while being better in other ways. But yeah, you could have, you know, Purple Sun and like all the bad damage ones that are just big and look cool, and then, you know, just like dudes. It's fine.
Yep,
it's fine.
Yeah. Like, I wanted to do a like, because I'm doing my like elf, like dark elf, like necromancy focused like conversion army. I wanted somebody that was strong at magic, and so like the Hallowheart was a nice fit for this because I could throw in a bunch of like dark elf sorceresses and stuff like that and have them actually be good wizards rather than a bunch of bad one like never having any option for non-one cast wizards.
Yeah, sure. I would argue the sorceress is a good wizard even without this ability. Like, anybody who can turn on +2 to cast at a fairly reasonable price is a good wizard.
Sure. Like, but I'm also talking about multicasting.
Sure.
Like, without having to like break the bank. And so like there's just some neat options here for me to like replicate kind of what was in my head with the rules that are here.
Yeah.
Without going like stupid. Like going stupid bonkers, like spell bombardment.
Yeah.
Endless. Yeah. So anyways.
Bombardment. Yes. All right. We ready to talk about the last city?
Yeah. I honestly think that this is probably one of the most balanced ones.
We saved the best for last. You saved the best for last. This is truly my favorite city. Like, this has tempted me, hence the question I asked at the beginning. I'll ask it again for our current viewers. I'll get there in a moment. Tempest. I love Tempest. I love the lore of Tempest. It's like the coolest city. It's the coolest looking city. It's got the coolest story, and it's got it's my pick for just like the nailed it for the rules, right? Like, this is in the sweet spot. Everything, it's everywhere you want to be. All right.
As an aside, my dwarf army was Tempest. like the coloration and stuff that I chose for them. Like I wanted my dwarves to be allied with like serve as mercenaries for Tempest Eye.
Yeah.
And so I love that it's actually like good with like nice KO integration. Like it's everything I could have ever asked for.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Well,
Titan Spear Mountain is just a sweet name for a home too, by the by. Like that's a cool name.
Yeah, Titan Spear Mountain is super sick sounding.
Yes.
And it's the home of the sprinting shoot men.
That's right. Yep.
Oh, can I jump back real quick?
Sure.
You know what the most egregious part of the Hallowheart thing is?
Sure. What?
Like, like as if it couldn't get any more crazy or worse.
Okay.
Is that if you read in the short story, they are set up to have Living City has Sylvaneth, and you know how Tempest Eye has KO. Hallowheart was set to have Fire Slayers. Like that was their thing. Like if you go and dig into the lore, if you go and look at Firestorm, if you go and look at the short story that was written, they were supposed to have Fire Slayers.
Wow,
Can you imagine what this would have looked like with Fire Slayers?
Boy, thank God. If there was by the way, if there was somebody who at some point stopped that, whether they be in the design team, the play testing, wherever you are, thank you. I love you forever. You're doing God's work. All right? Because that would have been, that is a nightmare world I'm glad we don't live in.
Like, and here's my first Rune Smiter, just right there. Like, the opponent's like, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to highlight that.
God in heaven. Yeah. I love the idea of Hearthguards on 4-up and 4-up and 4-up again for spells around the spells, because but there's a Crystal Aegis spell, by the way, we didn't talk about, but that pushes that Hallowheart save up to 4-up. So, like, just being, we're all immune to magic, and we have so much magic, we don't die. It's crazy. Okay, but that's a world we don't live in, thank you. Yeah. All right.
Let's go back.
Tempest Eye. Tempest Eye is from Akshi. Alert and Forewarned. Which, by the way, if you the Tempest Eye short story in here, all the cities have like a short story to them. The Tempest Eye short story is super cool. It's about a bunch of Shadow Warriors, so of course I dug it. You know me and Shadow Warriors. It's Shadow Warriors, Ace, and some Beastmen. So I was like, yes, this is great. Okay. Anyway, add 3 inches to the move characteristic of friendly Tempest Eye units until the end of the first battle round. In addition, add 1 to save rolls for attacks that target friendly Tempest Eye units in the first battle round. So, long story short, in the first round, everybody's +3 to move and +1 to save. Great.
I mean, what else could anyone want? Right.
It's pretty good.
At a basic level, it's like, I would like to go faster and have +1 to all saves.
Yeah.
In turn, yes, and particularly in turn 1, which like getting onto objectives and holding objectives.
That initial spread is so important.
Really important. And
anti-alpha strike, good for alpha blocking. Yes, it's great.
And for alpha striking.
Yeah.
Like it does both.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Outriders of the Realms, you can add 1 to run rolls for friendly Tempest Eye units. This will be more relevant later. By the way, we should exactly. We should also mention, by the way, that almost any unit that has like a musician in this book adds 1 to run and charge rolls. Just blanket. That's the effect of almost of basically every musician in this book. So effectively, you're at +2 to run here, right? Again, this will be relevant. Okay. So, standing contracts, you can have 1 in 4 of your units can be Caradhran Overlords, just like with Living City and Sylvaneth, or all of them and Stormcast. So once again, this is another one of those armies that you only need to have 1/4 of the army be actual Living Cities people, and everybody else can just be visitors, apparently.
And earlier, 1 in 4 really means 2 and 8 generally in the list.
Yep.
Which is just enough for a power pair. Perfect.
Right.
Yep.
It's really hard to do 3 and 12. I've tried.
Yeah.
Unless you're running the 3 Scourge Runner blockade.
Yeah. You can. Yep, you can cheese it with like Scourge Runners or stuff like that. There is ways around it, but yes. Like a couple Scourge Runners will really blow your number up. So, as will the actual thing I'm going to talk about when I talk about synergies in this place, which is gyrocopters and gyro bombers, baby. They'll push that number right up.
They're actually good.
They are real good.
They don't look good, but they are good.
Absolutely.
But
All
I
right.
guess we're pigs here, so.
Command ability, Rapid Redeploy. You can use this command ability in your shooting phase. If you do so, pick one friendly Tempest unit that is wholly within 12 inches of a friendly Tempest hero. That unit can run and shoot. Ba-boom! So you've got run and shoot on tap with your command abilities. Fantastic. Okay. I want to draw some attention real quick here to set up our discussion to some of the interesting things within like the command traits and artifacts and things like that. Which is Hawkeye. You can add 1 to wound rolls for attacks made with missile weapons by friendly Tempest units wholly within 12 of the general. Fantastic. So you've got a bubble +1 to wound. You've got a command trait on your general that if you want to take, that lets you run and charge and fight at the start of the combat phase.
Hold on. There's no qualifiers there, folks.
Nope, just you can run and charge, and in addition, you fight at the start of the combat phase. Not when you charge. Just
don't
all the time.
All the time.
We didn't learn our Gristlegore lesson.
Nope.
And so now the Star Drake, the Lord Selson on Star Drake is like, don't mind if I do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Nothing like a Star Drake roaring in, running and charging and fighting, striking first all the time. Just fearless.
With +3 move, +1 run, and +1 saves.
Yep. He's real. Yep. He's real up in ya. Okay. So, yeah. I find their artifacts wholly underwhelming, so we're gonna skip them.
Well, Patrician's Helm is almost as good as Anvilgard's command ability. It's only 12 inches, but you know.
And your battle mage could have that.
It's a valid point.
Just sprinkling this everywhere.
Yeah. Right. Their artifacts are generally garbo, so let's just state that.
I do want to say that like even the Zephyrite banner, which is reroll charges for units wholly within 12, is not terrible.
No, it's not terrible. It's okay. It's okay.
Like especially if you're running across the battlefield and like looking for an alpha with like multiple troop units, like this is pretty good.
Sure. You're perfectly fair. Their spells are good. Aura of Glory gives +1 to it's a cast on a 7 and adds 1 to the attacks characteristic of melee weapons used by friendly Tempest units while they're wholly within 12.
I dig it.
You know who likes that?
The Star Drake.
The Star Drake.
Yeah.
And he actually do that great damage.
And Endrin Riggers.
Sure. Oh, Endrin Riggers.
I hear Endrin Riggers like +1 attack, especially when they're getting it from a chemist and a spell.
Yep. And then like Celestial Visions is just a great backboard caster spell. Cast on a 7. If successfully cast, you gain a command point. Okay. Yeah. Fine.
If you got to do, just get a command point.
Absolutely. Right. Like many times you'll be like, especially turn 1, like I don't have any other things in range. Let's see if I get a command point. Yay, I do.
Don't mind if I do.
Yeah, sure. So that's cool.
Yeah.
So there you go. I love this army very, very much. I think it's a good shooting army because it has some missile weapon buffs. It can be a good offensive melee army because it has lots of good it has great melee fighty choices like the spell I just mentioned and the run and charge and strike first thing. Like Tempest is just where it's at. Nothing's insane, but there's so much good. The army that I put together. Oh, let me hit the battalion real quick. This also has a funny battalion.
It's weird.
The battalion is a free guild general on Griffin, which I like. I still think that guy's worth his points, even at his higher points cost. I think he's still good. It gives you 3 to 6 units of free guild outright. 3 to 6. It's crazy. Of free guild outriders or pistoliers. It should be stated that those guys look. It should be stated those pistoliers are battle line in this army, and they're only 100 points, and they're actually really great mobile chaff, like really great mobile chaff. They go.
You remember them being really bad in the past, but they're actually pretty cheap and useful now. So.
Yes, at 10 wounds for 100 points with a high move that can shoot a pretty decent shooting attack, and then if it charges something, shoot again. Like, that's good enemy chaff clearing. In the chaff on chaff battle, they will tend to walk away. And then you could also take 0 to 2 Grundistock gun haulers. Okay. All right.
We'll check back in a couple months.
Well, also, look, cannons
yeah,
don't exist anymore, so gun haulers are your best get for an actual cannon at 130 points now. So if you really want cannons, you can have a 10 wound flying cannon. There you go. It only shoots once, but you can do it. And actually, their ability is really good here, which is units from this battalion can retreat and still shoot and or charge later in the same turn. That is stupid good, especially for, by the way, your general and Griffin.
Yes.
Letting that dude bounce out of combat and then go charge something else is very strong.
Yeah,
I would be interested.
Big monsters, so useful.
Yes.
I would be interested to see if the gun hauler. I may need to submit a question. If the gun haulers in the battalion count against your 1 and 4, because
why
often because
why
they are.
I guess sorry.
Because traditionally, like. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look at it because you were allowed to include units in battalions.
Oh, that broke the rule because they all fit under it.
Yeah. And I don't know if they qualify. Like I don't know if this slips in under that old FAQ.
Sure. The army that I put together, by the way, that I want to run here, that I absolutely love, and that I thought about building. It's been bouncing around in my head, and I can't shake it. Is the following. Okay. Here's what the army looks like. It's a bad army, but I love it. So we take a steam tank commander and 2 steam tanks. Okay, that's our armored division. Okay, now this is actually from Akshi, not crappy Gyran like stupid Graywater Fastness, meaning I can actually thermal rider cloak my commander, and now I've got a flying steam tank. Okay, so that's my heavy armored division. I got a flying steam tank leading up an echelon triangle of steam tanks. Then I'm going to take the battalion, okay, which is the general on Griffin, a bunch of pistoliers, and no gun haulers, just a bunch of pistoliers. My battle line is now more than satisfied. I have like 5 battle line, okay? And the general is like that's my second sort of bully point, right? The general has Ignax's scales also from Akshi's, just so he's very survivable. And he's going to go and he's going to go bully people. He's a super high save and 4 up against immortals. He's going to go get into combat, fight things, and then bounce out and just go to other places I need him. And then if you put those 2 together, the remaining points you have is enough for 6 gyrocopters and 3 gyro bombers, which is your fighter and bomber wing support. Okay, so the Air Force has taken to the sky. All right, so we've got our cavalry with our general, we've got our armored division, and we've got the Royal Air Force backing it up. Truly mixed arms in the greatest sense of the word. Very quickly here, I'm not going to go through all the rules, but I do want to just touch on why gyrocopters are sweet now. Gyrocopters are like 70 points or 3 for 180. Gyro bombers are 80 points or 3 for 210. So they can be united up, and you get there is actually a quote unquote horde discount on 3 of them.
The regiment of gyrocopters.
So gyrocopters have this ability where once per battle, after this unit has made a normal move, pick, which can include a run, by the way. Pick 1 enemy unit and roll 1 die for each model in this unit that passed across. For each model in this unit, the gyrocopter unit, that passed across any models from the enemy unit. For each 2+, that enemy suffers D3 mortal wounds. So if a flight of 3 skims over a unit, you roll 3 die. Every 2+ is D3 mortal wounds when they bomb them. So you're dropping 3D3 mortals. Gyro bombers do that every round. Okay. The gyrocopters move 16 inches base, 19 in turn 1, plus under Tempest Eye, plus a run, which is like plus between 2 and 7. So they go between 21 and 26 inches. So they're fast.
You zoom across all these
these units dropping bombs. And then they have a steam gun. The steam gun works like this. It's got an 8-inch range. Before attacking with the steam gun, you pick 1 enemy unit within 8 inches of the attacking model. The attacks characteristic of that model's steam gun is equal to the number of models from that enemy unit within 8 inches of the attacking model. All attacks with that steam gun must target that enemy unit. So you can just you fly them over there, you drop bombs, you land close, and then you just open up with 3 steam guns, rolling, you're aiming for the dudes on 25s, and you're just spraying them down with 3 up, 4 up, neg 1 rend 1 damage hits.
So you're shooting some rats like 120 times.
Yeah, it's just so many attacks. It is so many attacks. Yeah. And that is, by the way, 1960 points. If you were curious what that came to, sadly, that 40-point thing, it just like, yes, you can still do the toe dip flyover. But I love that army. It makes me so happy. It's so stupid, but God, is it awesome? Like it's, oh, and my steam tank flies. And because it can use its command ability to still like run and shoot, the first turn, the general steam tank, like the lead, the destroyer, as it were, flies 3d6 plus 9 and still does its shooting.
So the first round, the steam tank leader like blasts off like a rocket,
Exactly.
sailing through the air with smoke jets behind.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's what I like Cities of Sigmar, the book, is that there's so many ways to build armies that are definitely stupid, but very fun and not like actual garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are ways for them to play reasonably and, you know, possibly win games. But just like what you're doing is so silly in a good way.
I mean, to be fair, that army puts a lot of shot in the air.
Killing themselves because of suicide vested incanters, or like Flight of the Valkyrie gyro bomber spam, all this stuff.
Yeah, that's why I need the alternate gyrocopter models. So because I don't want to use the real gyrocopters because they're dumb. So, but
see, I would rather do a Lord Celestin on Stardrake as my general.
Sure. I like where your head's at already.
Swift as the wind.
Sure. So he can run, charge, and always strikes first.
Yep. He has a base of 12. I can auto run him turn 1 for 18 because he's 19. In Tempest Eye. I'm sorry. No, hold on. 18 base. Tempest Eye pushes it to 19 because he has the alert and forewarned. He can add 3. So he can be up to 22. Now, I'm very partial to the Gur Battle Mage for 90 points. Because he's the Gur Battle Mage, he'll be at +1 to cast because of the Lord Celestin on Stardrake. Because it does that. And he can give +2 to run and charge to a unit. So he can push that Stardrake up to 27 inches.
He's in ya.
And he's on a 2-up reroll 1s. Turn 1.
Yep.
And if you gave him, like, you could potentially, there's a couple ways you could do it. If you ran another Stormcast, you could potentially have the, you could go with the Castellant, which gives the +1. And you could go for like the like to get in and grind with the Scorching Helm. You could potentially do that.
You mean
he's
the Smoldering Helm. So he's bouncing back mortal wounds all over the place.
He's bouncing on 4, right? And then then on his re-rolls, he bounces them back on all rolls. So that's a possibility.
You could also just give him Ignax, so he's quite survivable.
Right.
And
or you give him Ignax. Yep. That's a possibility. And then like the wave 2 is like he goes in and pins. And then technically, like, you could have a bunch of Endrin riggers running in with him.
Sure. Chainsawing like mad.
Chainsawing, or like they open with guns, and then our like wave 2 that comes in. You know, with like a Hurricanum at their back for +1 to hit, because Lord knows they need to be hit on 2s, and the Hurricanum granting the +1 to all attacks bubble.
It's the thing casting Aura of Glory.
Yes, it's the thing casting Aura of Glory.
Right.
I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of potential here.
Oh, sure. And like that guy is a bully extraordinaire, right? Like that is a thing that must be answered. Mr. like basically 1-up re-rolling 1s with a 4-up mortal wound save that just like the Unbreaka Drake who's like deep in you turn 1. You better have an answer because otherwise he's going to get in you.
Right, and like he's not going to kill things quickly, but he'll kill things quickly enough. And
he's still plenty damaging, yes.
And you know what's worse than him?
He's ASF, like so even in the next round when they fight him, he still fights first.
Yep.
Yeah. I was going to say that he's backed by 9 engine riggers.
Sure.
Which will delete anything they touch. The other honorable mention here, by the way, is that the Hawkeye general trait,
Yeah.
which is +1 to wound, is actually can allow you to fish for bouncing wounds on the drill cannons for engine riggers and skywardens.
Because it's just if you roll a 6 or more to wound.
6 or more, yeah.
It's 6 or more, yeah. So you can bounce mortals on 5s with those rolls.
Yep.
So that's a real interesting like side effect that of like a synergy that I don't know if it was intended. It'll last for a couple months until the KO book gets a rewrite. But it caught my eye just because there's some synergy there that wasn't there previously. There was no way to get those bonuses to wound, and now there are. So.
Yeah, and by the way, hold on, let me just say this. Gary said the problem is Star Drakes hit like a wet fish. I disagree. I completely disagree. Okay? Like, Star Drakes are much maligned for their offensive capability. Like, look, they're not
Terrorgeist.
They're not the Ghoul King on Terrorgeist or whatever. Like, yeah, or Ghoul King on Zombie Dragon. They're not whichever one it is. They're not the Kumquat. Okay? Like I don't disagree with that. But like they're not bad. Like this dude still does decent enough damage. He's got a little bit of rend. Like the key is in the current meta, there's not a lot of high armor, and it's high armor that shuts him off. Whenever he goes into like low armor stuff, he does significant damage because everything he has is D3.
Or 2, yeah. If he's going to use the hammer, so yeah.
Sure. He the jaws, like again, can just eat 3 things straight out pretty easy. His tail can do some good work. He can do his whole like rolling thunderhead, breathe a bunch of damage. Like he's not bad. He does a lot of different hits of damage. It's not all in the weapon profile.
And with 27 inches of move and 2d6 plus 2 on the charge. Right?
Yeah.
That's not too bad.
And let me point out, this guy is the advantage to this dude and what you can support him with in the way you were talking about with like you put the dude behind him who can lantern him or whatever, or like whatever, is like I fought this guy with Slaanesh and he just plowed through my whole army. There's nothing I had that could kill him. A less effective version of this. Right? Because there's just not enough heat. There is not enough punch in Slaanesh to kill this thing. When it's souped up with Ignax.
It doesn't have the rend, and it doesn't have. Oftentimes, it won't have the mortals, and he's always striking first. Like that's the other half of this is that like.
Well, not with Ignax, it doesn't have enough mortal wounds. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a real problem.
Yep. Yeah. I put 2. I was around where I attacked this thing with 2 keepers and did 6 wounds to it.
And
then it turned around and splatted one of them, right, and was like. That's just and was on its way to getting rid of the second in what follows. And like it didn't matter if it attacked last. It didn't care. Now this thing was even more resistant to that, right? Because he's ASF. So, you know, my point is like, yeah, I agree they're not the most dangerous thing. But it's pretty good. Like as things go, it is an extreme threat. I think people undervalue how decent that thing is when souped up in this way.
It only does bad damage when you consider like it doesn't do 560 points of damage.
No,
it doesn't do Gotrek damage.
No, but, hell no.
You know, when you support it, it actually is 560 points resilient.
Right.
It's got that half.
Yep.
And as long as your damage is fine, then it's fine.
Yep.
That's enough. It'll just burrow through an army eventually.
Yeah, it's just this worm just like it's just a dune worm just crawling through the enemy army. Yeah.
I actually like Star Drake in a lot of cities. It's a unit that, you know, everyone was on it and then everyone was really off it. And it was kind of coming back just a little bit, and I think cities will give people a bunch of pretty good excuses to bring out their Star Drake again.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Griffin. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's like it Griffin brings similar tools.
Yeah.
Right. And like looking at the numbers, it's not bad as like a mini Star Drake, but it's simply not the Star Drake. Because like the Star Drake is still re-rolling ones and bouncing mortals back on all the re-rolls. On top of, again, because like it's also about like trying to get as many attacks against you as possible to bounce all of those mortals back.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be Tokyo drifting with that guy.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
As many little stuffs in range.
Just careening in sideways. Absolutely. AOS Coach says while we're talking about armies, he's reconsidering taking his Hurricanum and he wants to flip it for a Luminarch. Well, one, I generally agree with that in most armies. I think Luminarchs are generally actually more valuable than Hurricanums just based on the points.
I think so too.
But secondly, you don't need to actually do anything. You could just roll out the same model and say it's a Luminarch because no one knows what the hell those damn things look like anyways. As long as it looks like one of those carriages, if you just say it's this thing, it's that thing. That's the great part about it. It's just a silly model.
I mean, I've built one Luminarch. I could do a couple more.
Yeah, they're annoying builds. I will say, like, that is Sub-Assembly City.
Well, no, like I did my conversion, my Aether, my KO conversion.
No, I know. Mine's converted too, but my point is they're still annoying models because you're going to use some of the real parts. Or I did at least. You'd use less.
I'd usually rather have a Luminarch than a Hurricanum for the most part in my various lists. Hurricanum's just very expensive, and
it's 10 more points now, right? There's a 10-point difference.
Depends on whether you want the dude inside. If you have the dude on it, the difference gets larger.
I suppose the dude is an open question because you're still getting the AoE bonuses without him. It's like an actual decision probably whether you have him on top or not.
Right.
Well, the advantage for me in having him in like Tempest, for example, with the dude, is that you're going to bubble +1 to hit and +1 in melee attacks off of a larger base, and so like it becomes this like this mobile buff carriage.
Yeah,
that's broadcasting a pretty big bubble.
I found like hit bonuses though in a city's army. I'm like hitting on 2s almost by accident in most of the armies I build that feature melee anyway.
Sure.
And so that bonus is less significant for me.
Yeah.
If I want to be better at casting spells, well, I got an app for that. And it's free.
Somebody asked about the viability of using Sisters of the Watch. Yes, very viable. Like, they're
good.
They're solid.
I have a bunch of lists with them. Like, I love them. Yeah. Like them. Like, we haven't talked about the Starscream Bridge, but there's a lot of foot models in this army that are like 4 to 6 inch movement, and that bridge does wonders.
Oh yeah. I would almost call it the Iron Drake Bridge sometimes. Some lists. I'm seeing a lot of people talk about that one because it's a setup, not a move. So they get to blaze. They're blazing.
Yep. Yeah, sisters love that. Love walking across a bony bridge. Which, by the way, if you're going to use that bridge, here's what I would tell everybody: if the bridge is going to be the hot new flavor, okay, I would highly encourage everyone to make their own bridge. Like, it's not the generic model. Don't go out and have to buy Forbidden Power for that bridge. Just like you can get the base. It's just an existing base, and you can build your own bridge model like what your city would be. Right? Like, I think that's way cooler. Like, no offense, I'm not trying to take money from GW. I'm sure we all give GW plenty of money. I just love the idea of, like, endless spells specifically built to your city. Like a living city bridge that just literally is a bunch of wood, and vines curled up around it. Like, you can still use bits. Go out and buy the Vines kit or something like that. That's way cooler. Your Graywater Fastness bridge or something like that just is like a bunch of cogs and metal and stuff like that. Just you can go nuts. Like, there's plenty of different options.
Necromancer Skeleton Mercenary Living City Army. Their bridge will be 2 Screaming Skull catapults bases, like with pieces connecting.
Yep. Yeah. Like, so there's just so many fun options there. Yeah, I dig it. Tempest is fantastic. That's the take home point. We ended on the one that I love the most. Any units you guys want to talk about before we close out? Like, anything we didn't touch on unit wise? We talked a lot about the Griffin. We talked a lot about all the general free guild dudes. We should note that, like, I think Greatswords are a standout. Phoenix Guard are a standout in the sort of infantry type, the elite infantry category. Demogryphs certainly got usable now. I think they're solid.
Yeah.
Blackguard, I think, are a standout.
Okay.
Blackguard are +1 to hit if they're within 12 inches of a Darkling Coven hero. So they move to 2 attacks at 2s and 3s. -1 rend, 1 damage. And as we had noted, their heroes, the Sorceress or the Sorceress Run Black Dragon, can give them run and charge.
Mm-hmm.
And they're only 140 for 10. So they can shoot across the board and they're just murder. I mean, like they're just they do lots of damage.
Yeah, I mean they're also base move 6, which is fast compared to a lot of the other people. Like as just a foot change. Yeah.
And they're +1 run and charge because of the drummers. And so like Blackguard's actually, I think there's some real potential there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they used to be the best unit in Darkling Covens, and they're still good even in the new book, which is good.
Yep.
Were there Shadow Warriors are good?
Yeah, we haven't talked about Shadow Warriors, and we really should.
We briefly mentioned them. It's like what, 110
for 10, 110 for 10,
and just land anywhere.
Yep,
super good.
Yep.
I play Beast Claw, so I like just dropping crap in my opponent's way immediately. There's like speed bumps to do stuff. Except these guys, unlike cats, are like they can participate in some of the phases of the game, like combat.
Well, again, it's 10 of them for 110 points.
Yeah.
And like so, like think about living cities. They're gonna pop up, they're gonna shoot their bows, 10 shots at 3s and 4s. And then you can like drift them in to 3 inches to charge. And they're 2 attacks a model. So those 10 are gonna have 20 attacks. In the event, by the way, if you pop them up in terrain and just keep them in cover, they're at +1 to hit and wound with those bows. So those bows are on 2s and 3s. -1 rend.
Yeah.
So like they are
good, like random utility piece. Like
people thought that harpies were scary. Harpies have nothing on Shadow Warriors. Like the javelin harpies.
Mm-hmm.
Because they had 5 javelins at -1 rend, 3s and 3s. These guys have 10 bow shots at 3s and 4s, -1 rend, with better melee attacks, more wounds in the unit.
Yeah, they can just pop up. The thing that does still make harpies better is the harpies can still drop turn 5. These guys do have to show up before, like in turn 1, 2, or 3.
Right. You can ally in your harpies if you really need some.
Sure. But like that's not me poo-pooing them. Like these, Shadow Warriors are super good, right? And their ability to just be on an objective when you need it to in turn 1, 2, or 3, or be chaff suddenly when you need it to, or pop up and shoot a vulnerable thing when you need them to, like, yeah, they're highly valuable.
Well, and 330 points because they come in block. They can come in blocks of 30, right? Like I know it sounds super silly, right? Yeah. So for 330 points, you can get 30 shots at 3s and 4s and drift them onto an objective and just literally body take the objective away from an opponent.
Sure. Yep. They work great in Living City. Like when sometimes you'll see people sit on objectives where like they'll kind of be off the objective in one direction or another. Right?
Yeah.
So you can like, even if you pop up 9 inches away and you're outside the range in Living City, they can just like shoot, and then you can command, if there's a hero somewhere near them, they can command ability to just walk up and just literally take the objective without engaging.
Right. Or if they want to engage, they fight in 2 ranks. They're on 25 mil bases and they're at 2 attacks a model. Yep. Like it's so good.
As we all know, I'm a big fan of Shadow Warriors. I've said it. I've put hundreds of hours of my life into playing a Shadow Warrior, the worst class in war, on order for years, and I love them to death.
Another honorable mention that I haven't heard anybody talk about, and it's really shocking to me, is the Eternal Guard scroll got quite a bit of changes.
Yeah.
Before they were 5-up saves, they've been moved to a base 4-up. Now they're 130 points base or 370 instead of 70, but they're they are, but and there's 330 for 30. But what strikes me about them is not just their ability, but also their power pair potential. Because so their base profile is 2-inch range attacks, 2 attacks, 3s and 4s, no rend, 1 damage, right? Mm-hmm. On a 4-up save. If they don't move, they gain +1 save rolls.
Yep.
So if you don't pile them in, if you don't move them, they go to 3s. if they're in cover, I'm sorry, no, yeah, and then if they also don't move, they also gain +1 to hit and wound rolls.
Yeah, they go 2s and 3s. Yep.
2s and 3s.
Mhm.
What's so fascinating about them is if you pair them with the new Sisters of the Thorn, you can actually put them in cover through the spell. Like the spell grants them cover, a unit cover.
Yeah.
And they can be targeted because they're a Wanderer unit, so they go to saves of 2,
Right.
and their attacks are on 2s and 3s.
Yep.
Yeah.
And when they bounce back mortals on 6s on those saves, up 2 up.
Yeah. When the spell's on them.
Right, when the spell's on them. So like
not piling in isn't too detrimental. They do have a 2-inch range.
Right. Yeah. So like that power pair of like a block of 30 with a Sisters of the Thorn backing them is actually a really interesting like anchor.
Yeah.
Like I love Phoenix Guard for how survivable they are with their ward save, but like some things just need high armor. And against those things, Eternal Guard are wonderful things to throw in front, like against a Slaanesh army.
Yep. Absolutely. A couple other shout outs. Since we're talking about Wanderers, we should mention the Nomad Prince, who can put a bubble up of +1 to hit for attacks of friendly Wanderer units, but it's not specific to a phase. Right? So it's just +1 to hit while they're within 12 inches of him. Add 1 to hit roll for attacks made by friendly Wanderer units. Meaning that like you have some dual use Wanderer units like we mentioned, or like say Sisters of the Watch. And they're not great in melee, but still it puts their shooting really nice, right? Because then if they didn't move, then they're suddenly on 2s and 3s with double taps, stuff like that. So that's interesting. Or Sisters of the Thorn, same thing. They're javelins, and then they're also their other attacks because they're also Wanderers. The Scourge Runner Chariots, I believe, need a special mention here, which can be battle line if you've got a like a Black Arc Fleet Master, basically, if he's your general. They're like 60-point units, okay, that throw out 6 shots. Not great shots, but 6 shots nonetheless. 2 of them are 3 and 3, neg1, d3 damage, and 4 of them are 5-4, no rend 1 damage. And they tear around the board at move 12 with 6 wounds. Pretty great. And by the way, when they shoot those Ravager harpoons off, the 2 attacks, if they roll a 6 to hit, then they also do D3 mortal, or then they do D3 mortals instead. Pretty good. Like for 60 points, that's a fun chariot. That's how chariots should be. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know people have been joking around about flooding the board with like 37 of them.
Sure.
The Goblin Pump Wagon.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Version.
Hey, whoa, anything else that you really got your eye on in here? There's so many units in here, obviously.
There are so many units, but we have pretty much touched on or discussed all of them that are good or hidden gems. I could go over the ones that are just real bad, but that would kind of end on a downer. And,
yeah,
I will
writing about stuff that sucks is for my show.
I mean, I will say this: I like Drakespawn Knights as well. We haven't talked about them at all, but like they're nice cav with a 10-inch move and a 3+ save.
Sure.
10 wounds, 180 points. I don't know. I'm just partial to them. I've like worked on a couple lists with them, and I just I'm a big fan.
We mentioned the Iron Drakes earlier, Gary, when we talked I think we were talking about them in Living City when we mentioned the pop up and blaze away. Yeah, Iron Drakes have got potential.
Any way that you have to set them up somewhere, whether it be a bridge or a Living City thing, so you can just drop and pop blaze away. I like them a lot.
Yep.
And they can absorb some buffs, although not in those phases necessarily.
Yep.
Agreed. Okay, cool. Anything else we want to mention on Cities of Sigmar? I mean, all in all, in my estimation, great book. Most of the points, by the way, feel pretty right. Again, there is some stuff I don't love. I think that's going to be clear. We won't end on the down note, but I agree. I said most of the units are good. There are some that are not. And we didn't talk about them, so just you can fill in the blanks. If we never once mentioned them at all by name, yeah, you do the math.
Right.
There you go. Gentlemen, any final, Haywo, any final thoughts?
No, this was just a very pleasant surprise for the latest book.
Yeah.
Even if Hallowheart stays how it is, I don't think it's going to, like, Flesh Eater Court's the meta or anything. It's just going to be
No.
extremely annoying to play against. That's all. Like,
Yes.
I don't think they ruined anything here. There's all these different ways to play. There's so many customization options, both for how you want your guys to look and also for whatever list you happen to be doing. You can kind of swap cities if you want when you're just testing stuff out with basically the same core, plus or
Agreed.
minus here or there.
Yep.
And yeah, I'm pretty pleased with cities, and it was something we all really wanted them to do a year ago when they probably had started it already 3 months before.
Right.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to the next ones.
Tom, final thoughts?
Yeah, I would say that I like the book, but most of all, I like the opportunity that it presents for like reimagining what armies on a grand scale look like.
Sure.
Is it's just it. There's a lot of space to play, and I like that.
Yep. Absolutely. My final thoughts. I love it. It got me way more excited than I thought it was going to. If you have ideas for conversions for gyrocopters or gyro bombers, please put them in the comments for this video. Put them down there. Comment on alternative proxies or clever ideas that I could do to build those. I would be very deeply appreciative. I've got a couple thoughts, but I just, I still haven't settled on anything, and I don't know. I want something cool. I want something that, because it's just something to get excited. And doing the Royal Air Force makes me smile. When just setting that up would just be my happiest day. Meow, meow. And I would make those noises the whole time. All right. So at any rate, very, very, very good. And I'm super happy with the tome. We'll be doing Oryx next week. Enough of these humies. It's time to get to the other book, the real book that matters. Da Orcs, the best. We'll cover that next week. But as always, I very, very, very much appreciate you watching this one, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Bye-bye. Now I have to get my mouse over here.